base of the end of the world starting with 5 million points. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301 Instructions. In the strange space, Kinj looked around, but there was nothing around. After a while, she began to panic and shouted, "Brother, where is this?" After waiting for a while, no one answered. She hurriedly said, "Brother, brother, brother." From her voice, you can hear that she is very anxious. Suddenly, a blue light appeared in front of her, then quickly condensed, and finally turned into a huge piece of paper. Read this magical change scared her so much that she stepped back several steps, and her heart became more and more anxious. She was in no mood to check the contents of the paper. Just when she was about to shout again, Luo Ren's voice sounded at this time. "You are now in the agreement space. In front of you is a city-state agreement. You only need to sign the agreement to return to the normal world." Hearing Luo Ren's voice, Kinj immediately looked around, but did not see Luo Ren, and said anxiously, "Where are you, brother? Don't scare me, don't worry, you won't be in danger here. You can read the content of the agreement first. If you don't understand, you can ask me." Luo Ren's voice sounded again. After hearing this, Kinj could only take a few deep breaths to calm herself down, then looked at the giant paper in front of her, and saw the text on it, which read, "City-State Agreement, those who sign the agreement will." A few minutes later, after reading all the content, Kinj was shocked. Her eyes were full of surprise. She swallowed and asked, "Brother, is this true? Am I dreaming?" "Everything mentioned above is true," Luo Ren said calmly. "You are not dreaming." After a pause, he continued, "You already know all the pros and cons of signing the agreement. Although I want you to sign the agreement, I still have to tell you that whether to sign or not depends on you." He actually gave me the power to choose. King. His heart suddenly warmed up. In fact, as long as Luo Ren said that he could not leave if he did not sign the agreement, she would definitely sign it. However, in this way, although the advantages of signing the agreement outweigh the disadvantages, she would definitely feel uncomfortable when she thought that she was forced to sign it. But now Luo Ren told her the truth, which was equivalent to giving her the choice of signing or not, which touched her heart. She signed the agreement without hesitation, without saying anything. Ding. The agreement was signed successfully. Ding. Wu'ang Manor has been incorporated into the city-state system. Accompanied by two prompt sounds, the picture in front of Kinj twisted and rotated, and then the sky and the earth suddenly turned black. Then she suddenly opened her eyes and saw Luo Ren. She returned to the normal world. "Brother." As soon as she opened her mouth, she noticed that there was a lot of information in her head, all related to the city-state agreement. After a long time digesting this information, she looked at Luo Ren again. Her face was still full of shock. She asked, "Brother, what just happened is true?" Luo Ren nodded and said, "Yes, the city-state agreement you signed has come into effect. So now Wu'ang Manor is a subsidiary city of Chiang City." He smiled and joked, "Why? Do you regret it?" Kinj shook her head repeatedly and said, "Signing this agreement will definitely benefit Wu'ang Manor more than harm it. How can I regret it?" Suddenly, two blushes appeared on her face. She lowered her head and dared not look directly at Luo Ren. "Besides, you are the new owner of the manor, and I'm your subordinate." Luo Ren was slightly startled, then stood up, stretched, and said, "There is no time to lose. You find a flat open space. Let's build 3 production buildings, the city-state base, the arsenal, and the tank factory." Kinj slightly, her eyes swept across every corner of the house, and after a little thought, she said, "Wukyu is the center of Wu'ang Manor, so let's build the city-state base on the top of Wukyu Mountain. But this villa almost occupies the entire top of the mountain. Where is there enough space to build the city-state base?" Luo Ren was surprised. Kinj said calmly, "Just demolish this villa." Luo Ren was stunned for a while, suddenly smiled, and said, "That's fine, but there is no need to demolish it manually. Let's go out first." Kinj nodded, followed Luo Ren out of the villa. Looking at the building, she couldn't help biting her lips, recalling what happened in the past. Luo Ren asked, I have given you the construction authority. Will you do it, or will I? Kinj clenched her jade fists and remained silent for a long time. Then she took a step forward and searched for the information in her mind. She silently said in her heart, start construction. As soon as she finished speaking, a light suddenly appeared in front of her and then condensed into a light screen on which the content was the buildings that could be constructed. Slightly surprised, she quickly came to her senses, then selected the mobile base, placed it on the top of the mountain, and then built it. Ooh. Immediately, the villa in front of her began to decompose from top to bottom, turning into dust clouds floating in the air. When the entire villa was decomposed, the floating dust clouds quickly gathered again, and when all the dust clouds gathered at the top of Wukyu Mountain, under the gaze of Luo Ren and Kinj, the dust clouds in the air suddenly poured down like a galaxy waterfall, and on the ground, the city-state base was gradually formed from bottom to top, like 3D printing. Such a construction scene is very different from the scene of open space construction. It seems that the construction effect varies depending on the environment. Seeing such a gorgeous and magical scene for the first time, Kinj was already stunned. When the construction of the city-state base was completed, she still looked surprised. Hey, are you okay? Luo Ren called. Kinj came back to her senses and looked at Luo Ren. Her mood at this moment was hard to describe in words. After half a day of tossing and looking for an open space, the arsenal and tank factory were finally built. With the city-state base, Kinj was not too surprised or shocked to build the arsenal and tank factory. This is simply a miracle, brother. You are not a god, right? Kinj asked excitedly. Luo Ren teased. How dare you? How dare you? If I were a god, you would kill me. Kinj's expression suddenly changed. After a long pause, she said, if you are a god, you must be a humane god. I will be your most devout believer. Facing Kinj's gaze, Luo Ren coughed twice and immediately changed the subject. He sighed. The things that need to be done have been done. It's time for me to leave. Kinj was shocked when she heard this. She immediately showed reluctance and said, can you stay for a few more days? Luo Ren shook his head gently and said, I have something important to do when I return to Chiang City. I can't stay any longer. Kinj was silent for a long time, then smiled brightly and said, then tell me the location of Chiang City, and I will come to see you when I have time. Luo Ren looked at the horizon with his hands behind his back and said, in the current world, it is extremely dangerous outside the city wall, and only inside the city wall is the place to survive. Chiang City is not far from here, located in H City. Your current task is to develop Wuoyang mana, so that Wuoyang mana can quickly return to the right track, and then grow and develop. In addition, you should also quickly become a level 3 evolver with your own strength. Suddenly he turned back and stared at Kinj and solemnly said, before you reach the level 3 evolver, don't stay away from Wuoyang mana, remember? Kinj bowed slightly and said, I remember. Chapter 302 Return to Rock City. Luo Ren looked at Kinj, who was slightly lost in thought, then stretched out and said, in this case, we will meet again later. After that, he jumped away and disappeared from Kinj's sight in just a few seconds. Kinj's eyes were filled with reluctance. After Luo Ren's back disappeared, she closed her eyes slightly, and her beautiful eyelashes trembled slightly. Then she opened her eyes, moved her lips and said, we will definitely meet again. Luo Ren ran fast and reached the Shuang service area in less than 10 minutes, covering a distance of 5 or 6 kilometers. Linya and Hao Yuan in the supermarket heard the noise outside and ran out immediately. Brother. Luo, Linya called. Luo Ren waved to Linya and Hao Yuan and said, get in the car. It's time for us to continue on our way. Linya stepped forward with small steps and asked in surprise, has the matter in Wuoyang village been settled? Luo Ren nodded slightly and said with a smile, it's all done. Lin Ya chuckled and said, okay, we can finally go back to Yancheng. I wonder if Yancheng has changed after not seeing each other for such a long time. She then put away her smile and whispered, Uncle Wu must be worried about me. I wonder if he will lose weight day by day without thinking about food and drink. And Xian, I wonder if that guy hooked up with any mother-in-law while I was away. Then he looked at Luo Ren, raised his eyebrows, and said, "Hey, brother Luo, do you think Sister Zixu will miss your food and tea?" Luo Ren was helpless. What kind of deep relationship could he have with Li Zixu? He didn't even think about tea and food, so he said, "Hurry up and get in the car." Linya couldn't stop talking and asked curiously, "Brother Luo, are you willing to abandon Kinj of Wuang village and leave alone? Also, if you leave, and she is alone, if she becomes lonely, empty and cold, then, Luo." Ren stared at Linya helplessly, then opened the door, and sat in the car. Linya looked innocent, stuck out her tongue, and then waved to Haoyuan. "Come on, little monkey, we are going back to Yancheng." Haoyuan immediately ran over, skillfully opened the back seat door, then got in with a swish, and lay straight on the seat. After the car started moving, along with the roar of the engine, its size gradually became weak, and finally fell completely, making a snoring sound between its breaths. The bright moon climbed into the sky surrounded by stars, and the cold moonlight scattered, as if covering the earth with a thin layer of frost point. After walking along the way we came for a long time, we finally set foot on the familiar tree-lined path point in the car. Haoyuan's snoring continued all the way, and even Lin Yan was infected. At this time, her eyes could not be closed, and she looked drowsy. After driving for a certain distance, a light suddenly appeared in front of us. After traveling a certain distance, the light became brighter and brighter, and we could see the towering city wall illuminated by the light. Who? Suddenly, the car was spotted by a soldier on duty, and he was immediately yelled at loudly. Linya woke up immediately. Haoyuan's snoring stopped abruptly, and a furry head poked out from the center of the seat. Everyone looked at Luo Ren in confusion. Linya asked, "Brother Luo, what's wrong?" Luo Ren looked normal and said calmly, "We are here." Before the surprise appeared in Linya's eyes, he opened the door and got out of the car, shouting to the city, "Don't be nervous, I'm Luo Ren." The soldiers on duty at that time have been replaced by guard soldiers. Although these guard soldiers subjectively belong to the city-state, as the highest officer, he also has jurisdiction and even has higher authority than the local city-state city lord. Hearing this, the soldiers on duty looked for searchlights, and bright lights shone down. Luo Ren's whole body was clearly displayed in front of their eyes. The soldiers were surprised and said anxiously, "Open the city gate." The steel city gate slowly rose, and the wheels rolled accordingly, rolling over the gravel road, and driving slowly into the rock city. When the car passed the city gate, they saw a group of guard soldiers waiting in front. Release the accelerator and press the brake. The vehicle stops just in front of this small group of escort soldiers. The leading soldier steps forward, and stands next to the driver's window. Luo Ren lowered the window, and the soldier immediately saluted and said, "Sir, we have arranged for someone to inform the two city lords Li Ziyan and Li Zixu. Please wait a moment." These guardsmen were quite sensible, and went to inform the Li brothers and sisters without his orders. Wow, so high. Suddenly, Haoyuan, who was in the car, suddenly got out of the car roof sunroof, jumped on the car roof, looked at the tall city wall and couldn't help but let out a sigh when the surrounding soldiers saw the sudden appearance of the humanoid ferocious beast, and heard the ferocious beast uttering human words. They were immediately frightened, and immediately became vigilant. Someone immediately sounded the alarm. Woo! The piercing sirens instantly spread across the entire rock city, and the surrounding soldiers uniformly aimed their guns at Haoyuan at the same time. The sound of breaking through the air sounded, and two figures rushed over like thunder and lightning, attacking Monkey Yuan in unison facing the attacks coming from the left and right. The monkey was unambiguous, and used both hands and feet to attack at the same time. Bang bang. A strong wave of air swept across, and the dead branches, fallen leaves, dust, and sand on the ground were suddenly stirred up. The surrounding guard soldiers who were closer could not help but cover their eyes, mouth, and nose with their arms. Monkey Yuan was able to withstand the opponent's powerful force, and could not resist it. It used the force to somersault backwards, and after landing it still took more than 10 steps back, before releasing the remaining strength. The attackers landed on the roof of the car, and they were none other than the Li brothers and sisters. The two looked stern. From the fight they had just fought, they judged that the beast in front of them should be a quasi level 3, and it looked like it had evolved from an ape. Dongjiang City had never been any monkeys before, so they were puzzled as to why this ferocious beast suddenly appeared in Rock City. However, it is difficult to explain. The most urgent thing now is to deal with the ferocious beast in front of us first, lest it kill the residents and soldiers in the city. Howiden felt very aggrieved. He had no grievances with these people, so why did he point that strange thing at him without saying a word? The two people suddenly attacked him. Suddenly, the two people in the car moved out again, very fast. Hao Yuan jumped back to avoid it. Through the previous exchange of moves, it could feel that the human man was about the same strength as itself, while the human woman was weaker facing these two people. Its intuition told it that it would definitely not be able to defeat them. At the moment, there was only one way. It shouted, "Master, help." The Li brothers and sisters attacked again. On the way, they heard Hao Yuan shouting, and they couldn't help but wonder, but the trick was done, and it was impossible to stop. Aha! Suddenly, they felt a strong wind passing by them, and then a person appeared in front of them. The person raised his hands to receive the attacks from both of them at the same time. Point bang. The two fists hit each other's palms at the same time, causing a wave of air to sweep away. The Li brothers and sisters felt as if they were hitting the wall of Rock City at this time, completely unable to shake it. When they looked up, the person who caught their fists was Luo Ren. The two of them were pleasantly surprised and confused at the same time. They retracted their fists, and Li Ziyan asked in confusion, "Sir, what are you doing?" Luo Ren explained, "It is Monkey Yuan, a companion brought by me from Xianwu Mountain. Don't worry, it won't hurt anyone." The Li brothers and sisters looked at each other, saw the surprise in each other's eyes, and their lips twitched. They said in surprise, "Partner." Chapter 303 Worry. The moonlight was cold and the stars were twinkling. Under such a beautiful starry sky, there were corpses everywhere outside Chiang City. These corpses are all humanoid, but they are no longer human, because they are already another species, zombies. On the strong and tall city wall, lights were on, and under the light were the guards and soldiers of the Sky Marching Army who were waiting in full formation, and did not dare to relax. Wearing a battle uniform, Suan Tong looked heroic, like a Valkyrie descended from the sky. Her expression was serious, and she was looking at the darkness ahead. Suddenly, her brows were furrowed, and her eyes were focused. While holding his breath, he suddenly heard the sound of dense footsteps, and at the same time, he heard the roar of evolved zombies, which was very scary in this dark night. Suan Tong shouted urgently, "The zombies are coming. Prepare to fight." As soon as she finished speaking, densely packed zombies came into people's sight. The soldiers had already been prepared the moment they saw these zombies. The heavy machine gun set up immediately spit out tongues of fire and fired bullets at the zombies, followed by individual artillery fire, firing dozens of shells. The scene was extremely exciting. Since yesterday, until now, the zombie siege has not stopped, with an interval of no more than an hour at most. Fortunately, the walls of Chiang City were strong enough, the weapons and equipment were sophisticated enough, and the ammunition was extremely sufficient. Although the army could not leave the city to completely defeat the zombies, the basic defense was still no problem. At this moment, the sky-shattering sound of an eagle suddenly fell from the sky. Suan Tong looked up and saw an eagle swooping rapidly towards Chiang City through the moonlight. Suan Tong quickly ordered a blockade, and the storm-armed helicopters immediately took off. Facing the swooping Goshawks, several storm-armed helicopters did not stop them, and actually allowed the Goshawks to enter the city. This shocked Suan Tong. When she saw the Goshawk entering the city, she imagined a river of blood. But when she rushed to the place where the Goshawk landed, she saw the Goshawk prostrate on the spot without any attack. When he saw her coming, he just glanced at her. Just when she was surprised by this, she saw a dazzling light in the sky. It was several storms firing red arrow missiles at the same time. The missile dragged its bright tail and shot rapidly into the darkness. It exploded with a boom, and a huge flame burst out in the darkness. Under the light of the explosion, Suan Tong could see clearly that there were many creatures there. These creatures had wings, but they did not have wings. No feathers, and the target of these creatures seems to be Chiang City Point after all the missiles it carried were launched. The storm helicopter landed quickly, and the group of creatures continued to attack Chiang City. After losing a small part point, when they were about to reach the sky above Chiang City Point from Chiang City and the Air Force Base, several red lines like lasers suddenly rose up. These red lines shot rapidly towards the group of unknown creatures and exploded where they landed. When Suan Tong saw this scene, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. It was an anti-aircraft artillery air defense system. Under such a battle, the residents of the city must not be able to sleep. Some brave people climbed out of bed and went to the balcony or rooftop. They were extremely excited when they saw the shells piercing the night sky. In Xinjiang district, where Zaya soldiers stayed, Liu Yangnian stood with his hands behind him looking at the trajectory of artillery shells in the sky. He was shocked again. He really couldn't figure out where Luo Ren got the anti-aircraft artillery air defense system. Rock City, the city-state base. There was plenty of food on the table. Luo Ren, Lin Yao, Lin Wu, and the Li brothers and sisters sat around the table. Lin Yao's face was flushed, and her eyes were a little blurry. She had obviously drank a lot of wine. Lin Wu picked up the wine glass and said, "Brother Luo, thank you for taking care of Xiaoer all the way. Come on, let me toast you." Luo Ren smiled and was about to pick up the wine glass. Suddenly, his movements froze. Alarm, alarm, alarm. The self-propelled anti-aircraft artillery air defense system detects that an air target is rapidly approaching the base. Is it authorized to fire another airstrike? Luo Ren was surprised and then asked, details of the target. 1. Level 3 evolved animal goshawk. Swarm of bats. Unknown number. Unknown level. It was detected that a swarm of bats was chasing the goshawk. The goshawk has always lived alone and has a strong sense of territory. It is a level 3 goshawk, so it should be the one point being chased by a swarm of bats. Luo Ren rubbed his chin and thought for a while. It was at this moment that the system prompted again. Point alarm, alarm, alarm. The goshawk target will enter the dangerous range in 30 seconds. Should air defense interception be implemented? Faced with this situation, Luo Ren had to make a quick judgment and said urgently, the goshawk is harmless. Let it enter the city, and the air defense system will do its best to resist the bat swarm. Bite. The order was conveyed, and the anti-aircraft and anti-aircraft systems were prepared. Brother Luo, what's wrong with you? Lin Wu's voice suddenly reached his ears, and Luo Ren came back to his senses immediately and said, huh? Sorry, I was a little lost in my thoughts just now. Uncle Wu, let me toast you. After hearing this, Lin Wu burst out laughing and said, that's not possible. I still have to toast you first. But, Luo. Ren did not show any false politeness and immediately raised his glass, clinked it with Lin Wu, and drank the wine in one gulp. It's great. Lin Wu laughed. Luo Ren also smiled, but in his heart he had another thought. It was not overt or secret. He was worried about Chiang City being attacked by a swarm of bats. He didn't know what the situation would be like, and whether the self-propelled anti-aircraft artillery air defense system could withstand it. After much worry, he made up his mind not to stay in Yancheng any longer, and would set off back to Chiang City tomorrow. After 3 rounds of drinking, Lin Ya said goodbye to Luo Ren with a blushing face, and then staggered back to General Wu's mansion with Lin Wu. There were more than 2 rooms in the city-state base, so the Li brothers and sisters arranged for Luo Ren to rest in the city-state base. I saw that you were absent-minded just now. Did something happen? Li Zixu suddenly walked up to her and asked. Luo Ren looked at her, smiled, and said, nothing. After a pause, he said, I have to go back to Chiang City tomorrow. Please prepare a car for me. Going back tomorrow? Li Zixu said in surprise. Li Zian, who was doing nothing nearby, came over and said, Sir, you just arrived in Yancheng. Why don't you stay for a few more days before leaving? Luo Ren shook his head and said, I'm worried that Chiang City may have encountered troubles. I must go back as soon as possible. Chiang main city has a strong military force. What kind of troubles can there be? Sir, you may be too worried. Li Zian comforted. Whether it is too worried or not, I must go back as soon as possible. Luo Ren's tone was firm, and he would not allow rejection. Li Ziyan said, since sir insists, I will go and prepare a vehicle for you. After that, he left the city-state base and went to prepare a vehicle for Luo Ren. Li Zixu stared at Luo Ren for a while, opened his mouth, and uttered a sentence, be careful on the way. Luo Ren smiled, yeah. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304, Confused Request. In the blink of an eye, the moon sets, and the sun rises, the stars disappear, and the sky changes from dark to bright. Luo Ren bid farewell to everyone in Yancheng, and embarked on the road back to the city with Fenliang and Haoyuan. Although there was no navigation, there was a map and he could still find a rough route back to the city, based on the scattered signs on the road. Chiang City. Under the blue sky, the corpses all over the place became clearer. Among them were humanoid zombie corpses, as well as black hairless bat corpses as big as adult roosters. And due to the hot weather, in just 2 or 3 days, there were already the stench spread out, and the soldiers guarding all used cloth to cover their mouths and noses. To reduce the lethality of the stench, Suan Tong also covered her mouth and nose with a towel. She glanced at the corpses scattered outside the city with sharp eyes. She couldn't help but frown. It was not good to continue like this. In just 2 or 3 days, these corpses were already smelling bad. If it lasted longer, the whole city would smell bad. Chiang City should be filled with a foul smell. Moreover, the corpses decay and various bacteria breed. If not dealt with in time, it will bring great hidden dangers to the health and safety of Chiang City. Tong, suddenly, someone called from behind. Suan Tong turned around and saw that it was Liu Liangxin. At this time, Liu Liangxin also covered her mouth and nose. Why are you here? Suan Tong asked. I'm a member of the guards. Isn't it right to come here to see if there's anything I can do to help? Liu Liangxin asked back, then looked at the corpses scattered outside the city, frowned slightly, and said, we have to find a way to deal with these corpses as soon as possible. Otherwise it may cause a lot of trouble. Suan Tong looked back at the outside of the city and said, that's right, but the zombies are attacking the city so fast now that there is not enough time to clean up the corpses. That's what you said. Liu Liangxin frowned and thought for a long time, then suddenly looked to the south, which was the direction of the Air Force Base, and said, do you think this will work? Use a storm helicopter to hang gasoline and then pour it outside the city of these corpses and burn them. After hearing this, Suan Tong thought for a while, slightly, and said, that's all we can do now. Making their decision, Suan Tong and Liu Liangxin walked side by side along the stairs down the city wall. At this moment, a car sped up and stopped in front of the two of them. This car is not a vehicle from Chiang City. Judging from its style and logo, it is a vehicle from the Wasteland military region. The door is opened, and Xia Chuan gets out of the car. The two girls were very confused about Xia Chuan's arrival. Xia Chuan stepped forward quickly and said, Captain Su, the commander has something important to discuss with you, and I have been specifically asked to invite you. What's important? What's important? Suan Tong asked. Xia Chuan said, I don't know the specific situation yet. We need to know after Captain Su meets our commander. Xia Chuan is a level 2 evolver. Liu Yangnian is unknown, but he will definitely not be more than a level 2 evolver, and the weapons and equipment of their army have been handed over, so there is no need to worry about any safety issues. After thinking for a while, Suan Tong nodded and agreed. You will arrange some things later, and then I will meet with Commander Liu with you. Xia Chuan responded, okay, Su. And Dong walked to an almost completely remodeled off-road vehicle, which was Luo Ren's special vehicle. She opened the door, removed the intercom, pressed the call button, and said, I'm Suan Tong. I'm Suan Tong. Please answer if you hear me. After a few blasts of electricity, a voice came from the intercom. I'm Suan Tong. Please answer if you hear me. Luo Shan, Captain Su, please tell me something. The corpses are piled up heavily outside Dongcheng and have begun to rot. I suggest using a storm helicopter to carry gasoline and pour it on the corpses and burn the corpses to eliminate the odor and prevent the growth of bacteria. Suan Tong explained the method of discussion with Liu Liangxin. After a while, Luo Shan's voice came over the intercom. The suggestion is very good. I agree on behalf of the guards. Suan Tong immediately ordered, then take action without further delay. Captain Luo Shan, I will leave this matter to you. Promise to complete the mission. Luo Shan responded. Suan Tong put down the walkie-talkie, looked at Xia Chuan, and said, let's go. Xia Chuan immediately opened the car door and said with a smile, please, Su. And Tong and Liu Liangxin got into the car. Xia Chuan sat in the driver's seat, started the vehicle, and headed towards the temporary residence of the Wasteland Military Region Point in the military tent. Liu Yangnian was holding a book and was reading fascinatedly. Suddenly, the curtain of the military tent opened, and Xia Chuan walked in. Finding out it was Xia Chuan, Liu Yangnian immediately put down the book and asked, is he here? Xia Chuan nodded and said, here he comes. Liu Yangnian stood up quickly, walked out of the military tent quickly, and saw Suan Tong and Liu Liangxin outside the military tent door. Liu Liangxin shouted, Dad. Liu Yangnian just nodded slightly, and then heard Suan Tong call, Commander Liu. Captain Su, please come in quickly. Liu Yangnian greeted politely with a smile on his face. Several people entered the military tent. Without any polite words, Suan Tong asked straight to the point, Commander Liu, I wonder why you came to me for something important? Liu Yangnian chuckled and said, please sit down. Suan Tong waved her hand and said, the war is urgent, and I don't have much free time. You'd better just tell me, now. That Suan Tong had said this, Liu Yangnian certainly would not ask for trouble. He immediately got straight to the point and said directly, I just got a call from Shang Feng to tell me some news. He paused for a while, and seeing that Suan Tong had no intention of speaking, he continued, the news is that Shang Feng will send someone to H City soon. Suan Tong frowned slightly and said, you mean the military region will send troops to support us? Liu Yangnian pondered and said, it can be considered a support. Suan Tong was puzzled and asked, what do you mean by support? Liu Yangnian said, this time, the people will enter the center of H City. Their main goal is to eliminate the advanced evolved zombies. Clearing out the advanced, evolved zombies will be beneficial to H City, so it can be considered a support. Clearing out the advanced zombies in the city. Suan Tong pondered alone, staring at Liu Yangnian with a frown, and asked, if so, it is an internal matter of your army. If they want to go, they can go. Why did you tell me and say that you discussed it with me? This is not very reasonable. Liu Yangnian laughed with a rosy face. He said, even though a large number of zombies are pouring into the suburbs now, there are still a lot of zombies in the city, and the danger still exists. The troops of the large military region need to be stationed in the provincial capital, and cannot mobilize a large number of troops to H City. Therefore, the superiors asked me to discuss with you whether we can borrow troops. Borrow troops? Suan Tong shook her head and refused decisively. Chiang City is also facing a crisis at the moment. It is not possible to allocate troops to lend to you, Captain Su. Don't refuse directly. You must know that clearing out high-level zombies in the city is to eliminate hidden dangers for H City and Chiang City, and the army is also for everyone's life safety. Liu Yangnian did not give up, and was still persuading. Suan Tong was a little impatient and said, don't you still have thousands of troops? I can return the weapons and equipment to you, and even give you ammunition subsidies. Why don't you go by yourself? This? Liu Yangnian was speechless. Suan Tong said, I have something else to do, so I won't stay with you any longer. Goodbye. After saying that, she walked out of the military tent without looking back, and then she heard the roar of a car, and then she went farther and farther away. Xia Chuan and Liu Liangxin listened to the conversation just now, and they were also full of confusion. Yes, as Suan Tong said, there are thousands of soldiers at the moment, and they only need to borrow weapons and equipment. Why borrow soldiers? Such an operation is really confusing. Liu Yangnian noticed the gazes of the two and asked, "Do you think I repay kindness with enmity, calling it borrowing soldiers, but actually wanting to take advantage of Chiang City?" He sighed and said, "This is not my idea, but the order of the superiors." Hearing that it was the order of the superiors, Xia Chuan was surprised and said, "Why would the superiors act like this? Incredible, right?" Liu Yangnian faced Saudi Arabia and smiled bitterly, "But this is what the superiors meant, what Commander Su meant." This? Xia Chuan was puzzled. Such calculations, and extremely inferior means, anyone can see that this is not the commander of the major military region in his impression. Liu Yangnian sighed again and said, "I have carried out the order, but Chiang City does not agree, so I can't do anything about it." Liu Liangxin frowned and said, "As you said, the military region will not send people to H City, let alone eliminate the so-called advanced evolved zombies in the urban area." Liu Yangnian shook his head and said, "During the previous call, the superiors clearly said that they would send people, but I'm not sure whether it is true. Maybe Chiang City is willing to lend them troops, and they will come, but not if they are not willing. I will know this after I report Suan Tang's refusal." After saying that, he looked at Liu, seeing the two people thinking hard. Liangxin and Xiachuan waved their hands and said, "Okay, Commander Su must have his own ideas. Don't think too much about this matter. You all should go and do your own things." Xiachuan and Liu Liangxin looked at each other, and Xiachuan said, "Commander Su has a long-term vision and always does things correctly. This time he must have his own ideas. Let's not think about it." Liu Liangxin is already a member of the guard army. She is also thinking from the interests of Chiang City. Since Suan Tang refused, the interests of Chiang City have not suffered losses, so she no longer thinks about it, and leaves the military tent with Xiachuan. After the two retreated, only Liu Yangnian was left in the military tent. He took out the satellite phone and dialed the contact number of the Jiangnan military region. Beep, beep, beep. After a few electronic sounds, the call was connected, and a voice came from the other end of the phone. "Old Liu, what's the matter?" Liu Yangnian said, "I have conveyed the matter of borrowing troops to the person in charge of Chiang City, and they rejected it." There was silence on the other end of the phone for a while, and then a voice came again. "Well, I know. I will convey it to Commander Su. Do you have anything else?" Commander Liu said, "Only this matter, nothing else." "Well, you should be careful. That's it. Beep, beep." The other party hung up the phone, and Liu Yangnian slowly moved the satellite phone away from his ear. He was silent for a long time, and finally could only smile bitterly, and shook his head. He didn't know what Commander Su would react after learning that the borrowing troops was rejected. Chapter 305. On the way back to the city. Part 1. The sun has almost completely set on the top of the mountain, and the bright moon has climbed into the sky. At this time, the world is like the early morning, dim and dark, not as bright as the day, nor as dark as the night. In such an environment, several zombies with emaciated bodies, terrifying faces, and staggering steps were wandering aimlessly on the cracked asphalt road. Buzz buzz, the roar of the engine came from the distance, which immediately attracted these aimless zombies. They bared their teeth and claws, stepped as hard as they could, and ran towards the place where the sound came from in a very awkward posture. In the sight, at the end of the horizon, where the asphalt road meets the sky and the earth, suddenly, a pure black off-road vehicle rushed out. The car was extremely fast, and it was the source of the roar. Facing the terrifying looking zombies with their claws and teeth bared, the off-road vehicles did not choose to avoid them, but directly collided with them. The distance between the two decreased rapidly, and then, bang, one was a zombie as thin as firewood, and the other was an off-road vehicle covered in steel and powerful. The result was clear. The zombie was smashed to pieces, and its bodies were scattered everywhere. The zombie was smashed to pieces, and its bodies were scattered everywhere. Off-road vehicle was only stained with blood on the front, which affected its appearance. Inside the car, there was a jolt at the moment of impact. Howitt suddenly woke up. He looked around, and saw that the car was still running normally, so he fell down, and continued to sleep. The co-pilot, Luo Ren, looked out the window. The sky was getting dark, and the moon had climbed up into the night sky. They had been walking for a day now. Judging from the speed of the car, they should have arrived at Chiang City, but in fact, they did not know where they were at the moment. I picked up the map on the platform, opened it, and looked at it carefully again. This was already the 26th time point. After reading it so many times, it was useless to look at it again. Luo Ren still couldn't tell where he was at the moment. At that time, he thought he could judge the general route by relying on the map and road signs. But the reality is that the sight distance of a car and an airplane are different. The sight distance of an airplane is large enough to determine the approximate direction of travel through a map, while the sight distance of a car is very small. There is no navigation, and road signs along the way are seriously damaged. They have never walked this road. It is normal for them to go wrong. The car continued to move forward. After driving for who knows how long, the bright moon and the night sky became brighter and there were many more stars around it. At this time, you have to turn on the car lights. The two car lights emit white light to illuminate the road ahead. Suddenly, a figure flashed past. Feiling, who was driving, couldn't see clearly, but Luo Ren could see it clearly and immediately said, "Stop the car." The car stopped slowly, and Hao Yuan also woke up. Luo Ren leaned back on the seat, seemingly motionless, but in fact he was listening in all directions and seeing 3 directions. Boom. At this moment, a black shadow flew toward the light and landed on the hood. A terrifying face came closer. Its red eyes stared straight into the car, and its big mouth suddenly raised a strange arc. The long and sharp nails were pressed against the windshield, scratching down from top to bottom, making a harsh sound. With such characteristics, one can easily identify that this is a level 2 speed zombie. At this time, Feiling's breathing was stagnant in the car. Although he was a pilot, in general, he was just an ordinary person, and was definitely no match for level 2 zombies. Hao Yuan, on the other hand, looked excited and shouted, "Master, I'll go." As soon as the voice fell, it opened the sunroof, got out, and rushed directly towards the level 2 zombies. Hao Yuan is a quasi level 3 evolved animal, and is extremely fast. When the level 2 zombies noticed it, Hao Yuan's fist has been slapped on its ribs. The level 2 zombie immediately flew backwards and rolled several times before stopping after landing. Hao Yuan took advantage of the victory and pursued it. He raised his 2 long arms high above his head, clenched his fists with his huge palms, and smashed directly at the level 2 zombie. Seeing that there was no way to avoid it, the level 2 zombies immediately gave up their resistance, opened their big mouths, and roared to the sky. Roar. A harsh sound like the roar of an evil spirit coming from the 18th level of hell immediately spread. At this moment, Hao Yuan's fists hit its head, making a puff sound, like splitting a watermelon with bare hands. To the head of the super zombie exploded directly. Hao Yuan picked up the fallen evolution crystal, scratched his head and ears excitedly, and made a monkey sound of chichiji. Luo Ren frowned in the car. After fighting zombies for a long time, he could tell that the roar of the level 2 zombies just now was not a sign of despair before death, but a summons to the same race. It seems that there are other zombies nearby. Zombies. Lowering the window, he shouted to Hao Yuan, "Get in the car quickly." Hao Yuan jumped back to the car and handed the evolutionary crystal he just obtained to Luo Ren. Luo Ren said to Feiling, "Let's go." Feiling immediately started the vehicle, heard the sound of the engine, felt the trembling of the vehicle itself, stepped on the accelerator, the wheels rolled, and the vehicle moved forward. But not long after starting, Feiling broke out in cold sweat on his forehead, because under the illumination of the car lights, a large number of zombies appeared in front of him, and the sound of dense footsteps had already drowned out the roar of the engine. Luo Ren said calmly, "Turn around." Feiling heard the sound, and immediately turned around. During the car's U-turn, the light swept across the right side. Luo Ren couldn't help clenching his fists, because there were also a large number of zombies surrounding the right side. The car took the lead, and under the light, there were also zombies gathering behind it, but the number was smaller. Luo Ren's eyes suddenly condensed, and he said in a deep voice, "Rush over." Yes, the superior's order is more important than anything else. Feiling heard it, and stepped on the accelerator without saying anything. The huge roar of the engine immediately resounded through the sky, making the surrounding zombies even more excited. They rushed forward with their teeth and claws bared. They were extremely eager for the fresh flesh and blood in the car. The power was already full, and the car rushed out and crashed into the zombies that rushed over. In just a breath of time, dull collision sounds rang out one after another. Luo Ren, Fei Ling, and Hao Yuan could all feel the impact of the collision. Bang bang bang. Several black shadows rushed over, but they were not knocked away. Instead, they clung to the car body, and their ugly and terrifying faces were stuck to the car window glass, which greatly affected people's mood. Hao Yuan, get on the roof, Luo Ren ordered. Hao Yuan didn't say anything, and immediately got on the roof through the skylight. Facing the dense zombies, it opened its mouth wide, showing its fangs, and roared. Roar. This roar was no less than that of a level 2 zombie, and even more than that. Perhaps it was because of their natural fear of wild animals that many ordinary zombies were frightened by this roar, and their footsteps rose. The shock lasted only a moment, and the zombies were baring their teeth and claws again, and they were even more ferocious. Hao Yuan was a quasi level 3 evolved animal with strong blood. His attraction to zombies was definitely not weaker than that of human evolvers. There were speed zombies rushing at him from the surrounding zombies. These speed zombies were only level 1, not to be feared, and were knocked away and killed by Hao Yuan one by one. After a bloody collision, the front of the off-road vehicle was covered with dark red sticky zombie blood, and the windshield was already full of cracks. However, fortunately, they rushed out of the zombies, although there were zombies chasing them behind. The accelerator was already stepped on the bottom, and the speed of the car was already at the highest speed. The cracked windshield was really in the way, so Luo Ren raised his foot and kicked it away. While the vision was clear, the airflow was backward, and the stench of the dark red blood on the front of the car was also brought into the car. Luo Ren covered his mouth and nose, thinking, how careless. Chapter 306. On the way back to the city, Part 2. After enduring the stench for dozens of minutes, he finally got rid of the zombies behind him. Luo Ren breathed a sigh of relief, moved his ears, heard the sound of water, and looked over. He saw a small river flowing. It was a coincidence that he could wash the car. Otherwise, who could stand the smell along the way? Reed, he shouted, park by the river. Fei Ling took the order and parked the car by the river. Several people got out of the car. Luo Ren looked at the starry sky, breathed a sigh of relief, and said, it's too late now. Let's rest here first and set off again at dawn. Then he ordered Fei Ling, go and clean the zombie blood on the car. Fei Ling went to fetch water to wash the car. Hao Yuan half squatted and scratched. Luo Ren found an open space to sit down and stared at the flowing river in surprise. Looking up at the other side of the river, his eyes slightly fixed. Under the moonlight, he saw several figures on the other side running towards this side with their fangs and claws bared. They should be zombies. There are only a few zombies, nothing to be afraid of. If they come, they will definitely not come back. The zombies with bared fangs and claws ran to the river, and Luo Ren said, Hao Yuan, leave it to you. Monkeys are active by nature. Hao Yuan was very excited to come alive. He immediately stood up and jumped directly into the river, which was more than 5 meters wide. The zombies were also very excited when they smelled the blood and flesh, and they pounced on Hao Yuan with their mouths wide open. Hao Yuan did not intend to kill these zombies directly. He dodged left and right and teased these zombies, just like a cat playing with a mouse. Luo Ren did not stop them when he saw this scene. Monkeys are playful by nature, and this is not a big deal. Suddenly, his ears moved, and he couldn't help but frowned, looking sideways at the river, where Fei Ling was washing the car. Fei Ling quickly cleaned the dirty blood on the car, straightened up, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and breathed a sigh of relief. He could finally rest for a while. He returned to the river, washed his hands and face, and saw the moon reflected in the river, and he could not help but stare blankly. Suddenly, the moon on the river surface rippled, and with a splash, the water splashed up, and a black shadow jumped out of the water and rushed towards him. The black shadow was very fast, and he couldn't dodge it at all. At this moment, Luo Ren flashed over, pulled him away, and then kicked the black shadow away. After the black shadow landed, it rolled several times in a row. Looking closely, it turned out to be a turtle as big as a calf. It was really a global evolution, and the turtle was that big. After jumping over the river, the turtle was kicked and was half dead. Luo Ren thought, I'll have turtle meat to eat tonight. Just as he was about to kill the turtle in front of him, suddenly, a strong wind blew, and a piercing scream was heard. It was not Hao Yuan, nor was it himself. Looking back, he saw Fei Ling's chest pierced by sharp claws, and blood flowed down, dyeing the ground under his feet red. Small in size, with sharp claws, and a bright and intelligent light in his eyes. It was a level 3 speed zombie. This zombie pulled its claws out of Fei Ling's chest, holding a still trembling heart in its hand, and then provocatively bit the heart, and ate it in front of Luo Ren. Luo Ren clenched his fists tightly, his heart was burning with anger, and he kicked his feet, rushed out, and killed the level 3 zombie opposite. The speed of Luo Ren's burst surprised the level 3 zombie. The human in front of him was unexpectedly powerful. It hurriedly retreated to avoid the attack point after the attack failed. Luo Ren chased after him. He was faster than the zombie on the opposite side. He whistled out his fist and hit the zombie on the chest, trying to punch it through. The level 3 zombie tried his best to dodge, but his speed was a little slow after all. Although he avoided the vital part, his left shoulder was still hit by Luo Ren's angry punch, and it exploded immediately. It roared to the sky, and the sound was piercing, like the sound of hell. At the same time, Luo Ren raised his leg and hit the head of the zombie on the opposite side. The head exploded immediately, and the roar stopped abruptly. He caught the flying evolution crystal, looked at Fei Ling, and sighed helplessly. At the same time, dense footsteps sounded around, and countless zombies attacked from the darkness, with their fangs and claws bared, like demons crawling out of the abyss underground. With such a huge number of zombies, even a well-equipped army of 1,000 people would only be wiped out in the end. However, Luo Ren was different. He was a level 3 evolver. Although he could not kill all the zombies, he could still escape. Looking at the car, Fei Ling was dead. It would be a burden to drive out, so he immediately called Hao Yuan to break out together. At present, there were zombies in all directions. After multiple observations, the zombies in the west were relatively weak, so breaking out from now on was the best choice. Luo Ren flashed to the side of Fei Ling's body and threw it into the river. It was better to sink to the bottom of the river than to expose the corpse in the wilderness and be eaten by zombies. After doing this, he shouted, "Hao Yuan, follow me." After that, he jumped out and rushed to the zombies rushing to the west, and Hao Yuan immediately followed. Without level 3 zombies, no matter how many there were, they could not stop his steps. Half an hour later, Luo Ren looked back and could no longer see the zombies. He had already gotten rid of the zombies. He looked around and saw a big tree. He said, "We have encountered zombies twice in a row. They won't come again. Let's rest here for a night and make plans when the sun rises." Hao Yuan silently repeatedly, looking as if he understood everything. In fact, out of all the words, he only understood the words rest and daybreak. Because it was Luo Ren who said it, he agreed with everything. Looking up, he saw the branches on the tree, which were thick enough to support 7 or 8 people at the same time. He immediately jumped onto the branches and found a comfortable place to lie down. As a monkey, Hao Yuan was much better than Luo Ren at sleeping on trees. He climbed up the tree, found a branch at random, and then lay down to sleep. He had a very good balance and didn't have to worry about falling down. Leaning against the tree trunk and looking at the bright moon and stars in the sky, Luo Ren thought to himself, what kind of place is this? Looking at the surroundings, there are dense forests and no tall buildings. It should be the suburbs, but how can there be so many zombies in the suburbs? It's really strange. His thoughts deepened and his eyes gradually closed. On the surface, he looked like he was asleep, but in fact, if there was any movement, he would wake up at the first time and make corresponding gestures. Perhaps the 2 previous encounters with the zombies had used up all his bad luck, so this night was peaceful. Luo Ren woke up twice on the way, but they were just some non-aggressive small animals passing by, and there was no threat. The sky in the east was turning pale, and the world gradually became clear. The sunlight shone through the gaps between the leaves onto Luo Ren's face. His eyelids moved, and then slowly opened. The sunlight was dazzling, so he immediately closed his eyes, and it took him a few seconds to adjust before he opened his eyes normally. Standing on the tree and looking around, his expression was immediately surprised. He opened his mouth and said, "This is It was dark at night and he couldn't see clearly, but during the day, he could see the end of the horizon. The surrounding environment was all in his eyes, and a familiar feeling came to his heart. He seemed to have been here before. He jumped down from the tree and landed on the ground. He looked at the tree again carefully, then looked to the north, where there was a hillside. He frowned and thought for a while, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and he said in surprise, "So this is it." He looked at the tree again, frowned slightly, and said puzzledly, "This tree grows too fast. It has only been a short time, but it is bigger than when I first saw it." Putting away his thoughts, stroking his chin, he recalled in his heart, and said to himself, "At that time, Lin Nandi told me that after leaving Gaohe, go east. It's not far from Gaohe. If you go east from here, you should be able to see the road. If you follow the road, you will soon reach Chiang City." After making up his mind, he shouted, "Let's go, Monkey Yuan." With a swish, Monkey Yuan jumped down from the tree, curiously checked the surrounding environment, and saw Luo Ren going east. It jumped and hurried to catch up. Chiang City, the temporary residence of the Wasteland Military District. Ding ling ling, the sound of the satellite phone attracted Liu Yangnian's attention. He put down the book he was reading, picked up the satellite phone, glanced at the screen display, and then chose to connect. "Hello, this is Liu Yangnian." The person on the other end of the phone said, "Old Liu, the military district has sent people to H City. You should be prepared to receive them." Liu Yangnian asked in surprise, "Did they really send people? But Chiang City is not willing to lend troops." "You don't have to worry about this matter, just be prepared to receive them." Liu Yang said, "Since the people from the large military district are going to go deep into the hinterland of the city, why do you still need me to receive them? You also know that I'm not in the military sub-district now, but in Chiang City. I asked you to receive them because I know you are in Chiang City. When they go to H City, they will not go deep into the hinterland of the city at the first time, but will settle in Chiang City first. This is the order of Commander Su. As for the reason, I don't know, and you don't have to ask too much." Liu Yangnian pondered for a moment, and then responded, "Yes, I will be prepared to receive you." "Well, thank you for your hard work, old Liu." The person on the other end of the phone hung up after speaking. Liu Yangnian was getting more and more confused. The identity of the person sent was not disclosed to him. Although the purpose of the person's visit was to go deep into the city and annihilate the advanced evolved zombies, he was unable to borrow troops. The person who came first wanted to settle in Chiang City. Could it be that he wanted to borrow troops from Chiang City himself? Or did he want to take away the thousands of troops under his command? He shook his head helplessly and put the satellite phone back to its original place. He really couldn't guess what Commander Su was going to do. Chapter 307 Return, Part 1. Bang bang. A kick swept out, and the huge body immediately fell sideways, and then he punched hard, hitting the head as big as a rice cooker. The ferocious force was spit out instantly, and only the sound of the skull shattering was heard. It was so strong that even bullets could not. The head that was shot through was as fragile as a watermelon at this moment and burst open. Luo Ren jumped up and grabbed the evolutionary crystal that flew out. There were a few green flowers floating in the white jade. This was a quasi level 2 evolutionary crystal. Looking at the corpse on the ground, it was covered in muscles and 2.56 meters tall. It was obviously a nearly level 2 power zombie. Putting away the evolution crystal, he looked around and saw hundreds of zombie corpses. Most of them were ordinary zombies. There were also level 1 evolved zombies, but there was only one quasi level 2 evolved zombie. Aha! A golden red figure flashed in front of Luo Ren. It was Monkey Yuan. It said, "Master, everything has been solved." Hearing this, Luo Ren was not very happy. Instead, he frowned and said to himself, "This place is not far from Chiang City. How come there are so many zombies?" He rubbed his chin, pondered for a moment, and murmured, "It seems that we need to return to the city as soon as possible." Then, he took a few steps forward, crossed the monkey's edge, then waved and said, "Let's go." One person and one monkey were running fast, comparable to a humanoid F1 racing car. They encountered a huge number of zombies on the way, but they were all below level 3 and could not stop the two of them. Not to mention blocking, it was difficult to catch up. 10 minutes later, the endless tall city wall came into view. Luo Ren excitedly punched the zombies in front of him and said with emotion, "I'm finally back." Looking around, there are heavy machines mounted guns every 20 or 30 meters on the city wall. Among the machine guns are individual artillery pieces, followed by soldiers carrying rifles and sniper rifles. The land 1 kilometer outside the city has severe burn marks, and it is not an exaggeration to call it scorched earth. On top of this scorched earth, there are scattered charred corpses of zombies who have been burned. Such a formation must be because of these sudden zombies, Luo Ren thought secretly. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the formation. The city wall was not broken, and the soldiers were in full formation. Chiang City should be safe. Although Hao Yuan had seen the city wall of Yancheng, it was far less spectacular than the more than 10 kilometers of city wall of Chiang City. He screamed excitedly, his eyes were shocked, and he scratched his head and ears. Luo Ren looked at its appearance and said, "Let's go, follow me back to the city." After that, he ran towards Chiang City, with Hao Yuan following closely behind him. Excitedly point the soldiers on the city wall were focused, and did not dare to relax at all. Suddenly, 2 figures came quickly and caught their sight. Someone immediately sounded the alarm. Woo! The piercing sirens alerted all the defenders. The muzzles of the heavy machine guns turned in unison and aimed at the 2 figures, and individual artillery pieces were also ready to fire. "Don't shoot, it's me." At this moment, a familiar voice fell clearly into the ears of all of them. He was stunned for a moment. As they looked at each other, someone was so excited that he stuttered and shouted, "Sir, it's your sir who is back." As soon as these words came out, the people present held the words in their throats and shouted out in an instant, shouting at the same time, "Sir, sir, sir, aha." Under their shouts and gazes, the figure jumped up, easily jumped onto the city wall nearly 10 meters high, and landed boldly, causing dust on the ground to fly. All the soldiers came to watch, and their excitement could not be described in words. They could only shout the word "sir" over and over again. Luo Ren had a faint smile on his face and glanced at everyone present one by one. Seeing their excited faces, he couldn't help but feel extraordinary. At the same time, another golden red figure jumped up, trying to jump up to the nearly 10-meter high city wall like Luo Ren. Obviously, the latecomer was not strong enough. Only its upper body could reach the height of the city wall. However, it reacted quickly, and its hands directly hold onto the edge of the battlement to avoid falling. This movement attracted the attention of many people at the same time, and someone suddenly shouted, "Enemy attack." Professional soldiers would not forget their duties because of their inner excitement. When they heard the sound, they immediately raised their guns and aimed at the humanoid monster with golden and red hair hanging on the edge of the city wall. "Stop," Luo Ren said urgently. "This is not an enemy, so don't worry." Luo Ren's words were very convincing, and the soldiers always believed him. Since he said he was not an enemy, he definitely was not an enemy. The soldiers immediately turned their guns. Hao Yuan climbed up the city wall, scratched his ears and head, and said, "Master, it's too high." Almost. It suddenly said something, and all the soldiers on the field looked surprised. They had seen zombies, they had seen evolved zombies, and they had also seen evolved animals. But they had never seen this furry creature in front of them, which looked more like a human than a monkey, and could speak human language. Could it be a hairy man? That's not right. The hair of human beings is usually black or brown black, but the hair of the creature in front of me is golden red. Could it be that it is a Western hairy person? No matter what, since this creature calls Luo Ren its master, and Luo Ren also said that it is not an enemy, they don't need to worry about it. If they want to know what kind of creature this is, they can just gossip slowly in the future. Seeing the surprise on everyone's faces, Luo Ren didn't explain too much, but asked, "Why did the number of zombies outside the city increase so much? I remember when I left, there were hundreds of zombies within 10 kilometers near Chiang City. A larger group of corpses?" He looked at the scorched earth outside the city and continued, "However, on my way back this time, I encountered groups of tens of thousands of zombies several times, including at least a quasi level 3 zombie leader." "And what about the scorched earth all over the ground?" A guard soldier who had just been promoted to squadron leader took 2 steps forward, saluted, and then said, "Report to the commander, I'm Luo Sanbalinki. The scorched earth outside the city is caused by the burning of zombie corpses. Too many corpses have accumulated over the past few days. Now it is hot, and the corpses are easy to rot and breed bacteria. Therefore, Captain Su and Captain Luo Shan ordered the use of storm helicopters to hang gasoline, pour gasoline on the corpses, and then set them on fire." Luo Ren asked, "Why don't you pile up the corpses and burn them, but burn them on such a large scale?" Luo Sanbalinki explained, "There is a sudden increase in a large number of zombies in the suburbs of Chiang City. These zombies will attack the city almost every hour, or even less than an hour. In such a short time, we don't have time to pile up a large number of corpses and burn them together. So that's it. Then it can only be burned on a large scale." Luo Ren rubbed his chin, thought for a while, and asked again, "Do you know why there are so many zombies suddenly?" "I know." Luo Sanbalinki nodded and replied, "According to the news from the Zaya country military, the zombies in the city are rioting and rushing to the suburbs on a large scale. This can explain the extra zombies, but is it military intelligence?" Luo Ren was a little puzzled. He didn't keep in touch with the military on the day he left. If he insisted, it could only be the Wasteland Military District. Could it be that the Wasteland Military District received intelligence from the big military district and then sent someone to Chiang City to notify it? If this is true, Liu Yangnian of the Wasteland Military District is quite friendly. Of course, it may also be that he is worried about his daughter. While he was guessing, Luo Sanbalinki explained again, the intelligence was obtained through Zia Chuan of the Wasteland Military District. That day he came to Chiang City to borrow ammunition and happened to receive Liu Yangnian's intelligence notification, so he informed Captain Su and several captains including Luo Shan and Luo Hei. At the same time, a request was made that Liu Yangnian withdraw his troops from the Wasteland Military District and stay in Chiang City to survive this zombie wave. After that, Captain Su held a 2-day discussion with several captains including Luo Shan and Luo Hei, and finally agreed that the people from the Wasteland Military District could temporarily enter the city for refuge. At this moment, thousands of soldiers from the Wasteland Military District, including Liu Yangnian and Zia Chuan, were in the city. Chapter 308 Return, Part 2. Hearing this, Luo Ren was surprised. So many things happened in the 1 month since he left. Although Chiang City has a good relationship with the Wasteland Military District, there are thousands of professional soldiers after all, with extremely high military quality and combat capabilities not inferior to the guards. Aren't you worried about letting Antong and Luo Shan come in like this? Thinking for a moment, he was relieved. From Luo Sanbalinki's words, he heard that after 2 days of discussion, Su Antong was not stupid. Since he dared to let Liu Yangnian and others enter the city, he was naturally well prepared. He immediately asked, "Where are Su Antong and Luo Shan now?" Luo Sanbalinki was about to answer, but the alarm sounded suddenly. The alarm came from a distance, and the sound was much smaller than the alarm that was sounded when he mistakenly thought Luo Ren was a zombie just now. Luo Ren listened attentively and said, "It's the alarm of the East Gate." Luo Sanbalinki said immediately, "The zombies attack the East Gate most frequently. Captain Su and Captain Luo Shan are mainly stationed at the East Gate." Luo Ren understood and ordered, "You guard the West City." Luo Sanbalinki replied, "Yes." Luo Ren looked at Hao Yuan again and said, "Hao Yuan, you stay and help them defend. Remember, it's just defense, not attack. When the zombies attack the city, you only need to stay on the city wall. If there are zombies attacking the city wall, you would attack, stay, attack." Hao Yuan only understood a few of these words. Luo Ren had no choice but to say it again with gestures. After repeating it 3 times, Hao Yuan finally understood it, nodded, and said, "Master, rest assured, leave it to me." Luo Ren patted Hao Yuan on the shoulder, then walked down the stairs to the city wall, found a car at random, and rushed to the East City at a very fast speed. After a few days, zombies attack the city have become commonplace. Even the soldiers of the Xianxing army have lost all their inattention. They only have the firm belief to defend the city and eliminate the zombies. Suan Tong was stationed in command, staring coldly at the dense zombies outside the city. Report. Quasi level 3 zombies have been found, requesting the dispatch of storm-armed helicopters. Suddenly, a soldier came to her quickly, without any modifiers, and the meaning of the words was clear and understandable. In the battle, every second counts. Suan Tong heard the words, and gave the order without hesitation. Storm-armed helicopters are dispatched. When the man heard Suan Tong's permission, he immediately took out the intercom on his waist, pressed the call button, and said, "Captain Su ordered the storm-armed helicopters to be dispatched." Received. Soon after the voice fell, the huge engine sound immediately resounded through the sky, and several red and blue storm-armed helicopters took off, quickly coming from the direction of South City to hovering over the outside of East City, locking the level 3 zombies in the zombie group. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Several red arrow missiles were fired with flame tails, hitting the target in a breath, exploding with a bang, and a mushroom cloud several feet high rose. All zombies below the quasi level 3 were blown away by the strong impact of the explosion. The fireworks and smoke dissipated, and a large round pit appeared at the explosion site. In it, a quasi level 3 power zombie with one hand and one foot broken, a burnt abdomen, and internal organs exposed, was dying. It must be said that the vitality of this zombie is extremely strong. Several ground-to-ground missiles did not kill it. If it were a humpback whale, it would be blown into pieces. Whoosh. Facing this level of zombie, it must be killed completely. Another missile was fired, and it arrived in the blink of an eye, hitting the quasi level 3 power zombie, and the explosion was deafening. This time, the quasi level 3 zombie died completely. After killing the quasi level 3 zombies, several storm-armed helicopters did not return to the military base, but fired machine guns. The power was so strong that all ordinary zombies that were hit were directly torn into pieces, and the level 1 strength zombies were also directly penetrated. Even if it was a level 2 strength zombie, it would be torn apart by machine gun bullets. In the cockpit, the pilot looked relaxed. Over the past few days, although the zombies attacked the city frequently and in large numbers, including level 3 zombies and quasi level 3 zombies, they could not break through the defense of Chiang City. Every attack on the city was useless and could be called a gift of life. In addition, the helicopters were in the sky and those wingless zombies could not attack them at all, so they were really very relaxed. He took a sip of the drink on the right, breathed a sigh of relief, and said, "Great. Alarm. 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 Unknown objects are approaching rapidly." At this moment, the alarm lights in the cabin flashed, and an electronic alarm sounded. The pilot was shocked, and hurriedly put down the drink can, and held the joystick. He looked forward, and saw a black shadow rushing towards him at an incredibly fast speed. It was too late to dodge. Bang! A violent collision sound fell from mid-air. Suan Tong looked up and saw that a storm helicopter was hit by a black unknown creature in the sky, and the cabin protective glass was directly shattered. The creature crawled on the fuselage and finally fell on the landing gear and fell down hard. The pilot of the storm helicopter had been killed by the creature and lost control. At this time, one side was subjected to the downward force, and the fuselage immediately deflected and fell to the ground. At this time, Suan Tong saw the appearance of the creature clearly. Its body was covered with black fluff, and its arms, like those of humans, were connected to the armpits, and then to the buttocks, with a black wing. Further down, its feet were roughly human-like, but the males were 5 or 6 centimeters long, and a 7 or 8 centimeter bone spur grew on the back heel. Its appearance: eyes are big, half as big as human eyes. Its nose is sunken, with only 2 holes on the cheeks. Its mouth has not changed much. Its ears, the tips of the ears are long and sharp. This appearance is like the devil in Western legends. The creature suddenly turned its head and stared at her. Suan Tong couldn't help but feel a chill. The creature suddenly grinned, revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth. Suan Tong couldn't help but have an ominous premonition in her heart. Suddenly, the creature released the landing gear of the storm helicopter, and while its body fell, it suddenly flapped its wings and shot out like a cannonball, with a clear target: Suan Tong. This creature is very fast. Even if Suan Tong is at the peak of level 2, she doesn't think she has such a speed. The creature in front of her must have surpassed level 2. She picked up the heavy sniper rifle, aimed, and fired. Bang 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 bang. The sniper rifle gave her the feeling of a machine gun. 10 rounds of magazines were emptied in 5 seconds. The demon creature tried its best to dodge the bullets, but Suan Tong's shooting skills were so good that it was hit by 3 bullets. 1 bullet hit the bone spur on its foot, breaking it. The other 2 bullets hit its flesh wings, piercing 2 small holes, but it didn't have much impact. At this time, it was very close to the target human, revealing a ferocious smile. Suan Tong was shocked and stepped back, but the speed of retreat was not as fast as the speed of the creature in front of him. At this moment, it was like a demon demanding his life, and the breath of death was blowing in his face. Chapter 309 Return, Part 2. The surrounding soldiers had just reacted. Most of them were ordinary people. Those who had evolved were at level 1, and there were very few level 2 evolvers. They could only watch as Suan Tong was about to be overtaken by demonic creatures, and then, however, at this moment, the sound of breaking through the air sounded, and a figure jumped up from the inner city. He was so fast that he reached Suan Tong's side in just one breath. Without any hesitation, he kicked him directly point bang. This foot landed solidly on the chest of the demonic creature. In addition to the dull sound, the sound of broken bones could also be heard. The demonic creature flew backwards like a cannonball. The visitor then hugged Suan Tong and then gently landed on the ground. Is everything okay? Suan Tong was stunned for a moment when she saw the face so close, and then she hugged the person in front of her tightly with both hands. Tears couldn't stop falling from the corners of her eyes, and she cried out, "Brother Ren, you are finally back. Okay, don't cry anymore." Luo Ren gently patted Suan Tong's back and comforted her. When the soldiers guarding the city saw that the person who came was actually the chief, both the Xianxing army and the escorts were extremely excited, and their morale suddenly rose. The fatigue of dealing with zombies in the past few days was completely dispelled at this moment. Aha! There was a sound of breaking through the air, and a person landed next to Luo Ren. Luo Ren looked and saw that it was Luo Shan. His face was full of excitement, and he saluted Luo Ren and said, "Sir." Luo Ren lowered his head and looked at Suan Tong in his arms and said softly, "Good boy, during the current war, the soldiers still need you to command." Suan Tong sobbed a few times, then let go of Luo Ren, nodded obediently, and said, "I understand." Luo Ren touched Suan Tong's head, then looked at Luo Shan, looked at it carefully, and ordered, "Don't relax because of my return. Hurry up and command the battle." Luo Shan straightened his body and responded, "Yes." Luo Ren then quickly climbed up the city wall with Suan Tong. Seeing the scene outside the city, he searched with his eyes and found the strange creature that fell among the corpses. The creature received a full kick from him, with its sternum broken and its internal organs shattered. At this time already dying point, Suan Tong also saw the creature and said in surprise, "That creature came by flying. It stands to reason that the air defense system would detect the air target, but it didn't find it. Is this?" Luo Ren was silent for a moment and explained, "This creature should have been hiding somewhere outside the city, flying at low altitude, and then suddenly attacked. It is normal that the air defense system did not detect it." "Oh, that's it." Suan Tong understood, and then asked, "What is this creature? An evolved animal, or a zombie?" Luo Ren went on to explain, when a zombie evolves to a level 2 zombie, if it swallows the flesh or evolutionary crystals of an evolved animal, it will have a chance of merging with the genes of the evolved animal it swallowed, thus becoming a mutated zombie. This kind of zombie has the characteristics of zombies and evolved animals, making it difficult to deal with. After hearing the explanation, Suan Tong suddenly realized. She carefully observed the demonic zombies and thought of the bad group that attacked at night, and said, "So, this zombie should be born from the combination of zombie and bad genes." Luo Ren nodded and said, "Judging from its 2 fleshy wings, it should be so. Since it combines bad genes, why can this guy appear during the day? Aren't bats nocturnal animals?" Suan Tong looked through the biological information in her mind and thought about the habits of bats. She couldn't help but feel strange that bat zombies appeared during the day. Luo Ren said, bats lie dormant during the day and emerge at night, but zombies are not like that. That's true. Suan Tong bowed his head slightly, then stared at Luo Ren and said, Brother Ren, you didn't say you just went to explore the situation in the surrounding cities, but you have been walking for a month. Why does it take so long? Luo Ren said, this matter is a long story. I will explain it in detail to you when the war is over and we return to the mobile base. Yes. Suan Tong agreed obediently and did not continue to ask point as time passed. The number of zombies outside the city gradually decreased under the hail of bullets. Finally, after half an hour of fierce defensive battle, the zombies died and retreated, leaving only corpses scattered outside the city. After repelling this group of corpses, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and could have a good rest again. The current defensive formation was jointly formulated by Suan Tong and Luo Shan. Luo Ren had not participated, so it was naturally inconvenient for him to interfere too much in the command point in this way. Under the command of Suan Tong, Luo Shan and others, this group of soldiers went down to the city wall to rest and were replaced by soldiers who took shifts. This arrangement was designed to allow the soldiers to have rest time so that they could continue to maintain a higher level of combat effectiveness. Seeing their command and learning about the arrangements from Suan Tong, Luo Ren was very satisfied with it. It seemed that he would be able to relax a lot in the future. At least the city defense could be left to Suan Tong's full management. After all, what Chiang City wants is a collective, and all aspects need to be managed by people. He cannot do everything by himself. If he does everything big and small by himself, it will be like that. The Prime Minister of the Shu Han Dynasty, Zhuge Kangming, exhausted himself to death in this way. During Suan Tong's command, he jumped off the city wall, crushed the bat's head, obtained a quasi level 3 evolutionary crystal, and then returned to the city wall. After Suan Tong took care of the matter here, she walked up to Luo Ren with small steps. Her big and smart eyes locked onto Luo Ren tightly, unwilling to leave for a second. Luo Ren smiled, reached out and rubbed her head, and said teasingly, what's wrong? You're staring at me so longingly. Do you want to eat me? I want to eat you, but your meat is too hard to bite. Suan Tong pulled up Luo Ren's arm and squeezed it hard. She continued, by the way, let's go back to the mobile base quickly. You haven't told me why you've been out for so long. Luo Ren waved his hand and said, there's plenty of time to talk about this. After a pause, he asked, I entered the city from the west city and met the soldiers on duty. They said that Liu Yangnian led his troops into the city for refuge. Where did you arrange them? Suan Tong said, indeed, Liu Yangnian and his thousands of Xia soldiers are indeed taking refuge in the city. I discussed with Luo Shan and others and enclosed a piece of vacant land in the new city area that is not under construction for the time being, giving them temporary shelter. Living. Luo Ren said, thousands of soldiers should not be underestimated. Suan Tong immediately said, Brother Ren, don't worry. Before they entered the city, all kinds of weapons and equipment have been handed over to us for safekeeping. Without weapons, thousands of professional soldiers are only slightly better than thousands of civilians. Luo Ren nodded and said, that's fine. Let's go. Take me to the temporary residence of Liu Yangnian and others. I'm the city lord after all, and Liu Yangnian and others are guests. I have to meet them and say some polite words. Yes. Suan Tong bowed slightly. In fact, at this moment, the news of Luo Ren's return to the city spread throughout Chiang City like a typhoon. Hundreds of thousands of residents cheered together, and some rumors were also broken at this time. Chapter 310 Orders from the higher-ups. At the place where the Wasteland military region was temporarily staying at that time, Liu Yangnian had received news that Luo Ren had returned to the city and was about to visit when he saw a car speeding towards him. The car was very special. It had been completely modified. He remembered that Suan Tong often drove this car. He was confused and thought to himself, what is Suan Tong doing here? The car quickly stopped in front of him. The door was pushed open from the inside and a man and a woman got out. Liu Yangnian was stunned for a moment when he saw the person coming, then quickly walked forward to meet him and said excitedly, Brother Luo, can you? It's time to come back. Behind him, Zhao Chuan asked, Sir Luo, where have you been this month? Luo Ren laughed, shook hands with Liu Yangnian, and said, I went to other cities to collect some useful information. I thought I could get it done in 3 to 5 days, but the plan couldn't keep up with the change, and something happened on the way. Now, it's just 1 month. Liu Yangnian laughed and said, the world is full of crises now. It's good to be able to come back safely. He made a gesture of invitation and said, hurry, 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 let's sit in the military tent and talk. Luo Ren readily agreed, walked into the military tent with Liu Yangnian, found a chair at random and sat down, while Suan Tong sat down next to him. Liu Yangnian asked with a smile on his face. Brother Luo said that he went to surrounding cities to investigate for information. I wonder what information he found. Luo. Rindeo, there is very little useful information. During this trip, I learned that other cities have smaller populations and are not as developed as H city and the provincial capital. Most places are undeveloped and have many wild animals. Therefore, for the survivors of these cities, zombie threats coexist with evolved animal threats. People there mostly join groups to stay warm, building cities like ours to jointly stand crises. Liu Yangnian nodded slightly and said, in a global crisis, only by staying together can we survive. He suddenly changed the subject and said, Chiang City is stronger than I expected. The residents in the city live and work in peace and contentment. In the past, Zhaochuan told me, I didn't really believe it, but now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I believe it. He suddenly sighed and said, maybe it's because of old age. Zombies evolve so fast that my thinking can hardly keep up. Before, zombies that were almost level 3 were very rare. Now, not to mention zombies that are level 3, they are. Level 3 zombies are as common as level 2 zombies a month ago. I don't know when level 4 zombies will appear. Brother Luo, although Chiang City is powerful, it is an isolated city after all. In my opinion, it is better to cooperate with the military to clean up H city and kill all the zombies, so that survivors from all over the place can come here. This is of great help to the cohesion of human forces. Luo Ren frowned slightly and said, coordinated operations? How to coordinate? Will the Jiangnan military region send troops to fight with my escort? Liu Yangnian shook his head and said, most of the troops of the military region need to guard the Jiangnan provincial capital garrison. There are nearly 3 million people in this garrison. The previous provincial capital had a population of 17 million. Compared with the survivors, the zombies, but there are more than 10 million. Facing more than 10 million zombies is not an easy matter. In addition, there are some other cities and towns that also require a large number of troops. Under such circumstances, the military region has no way to spare excess troops. 3 million people. Luo Ren's eyes glowed green when he heard Liu Yangnian talking about the population of the provincial capital. At present, Chiang City has a population of more than 500,000, plus Yancheng and Huangsang. The total is more than 700,000 people. This is still a huge gap from the 5 million population that the base will be upgraded to again. And just a provincial capital station with a population of 3 million. How could he not be tempted? Liu Yangnian saw Luo Ren's reaction and thought to himself, how could Brother Luo react like this when he heard about the population? He sent troops to rescue before and cooperated with us for the population. At present, Chiang City has a population of more than 500,000. In ancient times, it's an absolutely big city, so why is it still craving for more people? Luo Ren noticed that he had lost his composure and immediately returned to his normal expression. He picked up the previous topic and said, cleaning up H city is indeed a good idea, but the Grand Military Region cannot send troops. So if we want to clean up the entire H city, we have to come from Chiang City. In this way, it is just my unilateral contribution, not a coordinated operation. Liu Yangnian rubbed his nose awkwardly and said, our military just can't send out regular troops, but it can send out special forces to coordinate operations. Special team? Luo Ren was puzzled. Suan Tong frowned slightly. Luo Ren didn't know, but she vaguely guessed something. The so-called special force should be the people sent yesterday. Could it be that Liu Yangnian saw Brother Ren coming back and wanted to borrow it again? Soldier, she suddenly said. Commander Liu, just say it directly. There is no need to beat around the bush. Luo Ren glanced at Su Antong, savored the meaning of the words, rolled his eyes, and then looked at Liu Yangnian to listen to what he would say next. Liu Yangnian was startled for a moment, then laughed loudly and said, "Okay, since Captain Su likes to be outspoken, I will tell you straight away, the military region has sent people here, and will arrive in Chiang City today. Captain Su flatly refused to borrow troops yesterday, and Brother Luo has returned. As the person who gave the order, I naturally had to mention the borrowing of troops to Brother Luo." Borrowing troops? Luo Ren looked puzzled. No need for Liu Yangnian to explain. Su Antong said, "Commander Liu asked me to borrow troops yesterday, saying that the military region sent a small team to enter the city to eliminate advanced evolved zombies. Although urban zombies have flooded into the suburbs in large numbers, there are still a lot of zombies left behind. Therefore, large-scale conventional troops are needed to enter the city to deal with the large number of zombies left behind." Luo Ren just thought about it for a moment and clarified the meaning, and at the same time discovered the loopholes in it. He said, "Commander Liu, as Antong said, I will not agree to borrow troops. First of all, the purpose of borrowing troops is to wipe out ordinary zombies in the city. But the suburbs are still full of zombies. Do you think the sound of the marching army will not attract a large number of zombies? At this rate, I'm afraid that before they reach the city, they will already be out of ammunition and food, or even the entire army will be wiped out. Secondly, you, thousands of people, are all professional soldiers. If we don't have enough weapons and ammunition, we can provide them, so why do you need to borrow troops? Thirdly, since the people sent by the Grand Military Region are going into the city to exterminate the evolved advanced zombies, they must be evolvers, and they must be powerful evolvers. For such a strong person, you only need to be careful and sneak into the city to find the so-called advanced evolved zombies. Just attack them in groups and kill them quickly. Why march the army into the city with great fanfare? Isn't it just taking off your pants and farting, asking for trouble?" Luo Ren asked 3 questions, but Liu Yangnian looked confused and could not answer, except for the 3rd question. He had already thought of the first 2 questions and could not find a reasonable answer. But when he was given an order from the top, what he, an old soldier, had to do was to obey absolutely. If he was asked to borrow troops, he would ask for it. As for whether the other party borrowed troops or not, he had no control over it, but he still had to try his best. Now it seems that borrowing troops from Luo Ren is the same as borrowing troops from Su Antong, and all he gets is rejection. He chuckled and said, "If the superior orders me to borrow troops, I will do my best. And since Brother Luo doesn't want to, I won't force it." Seeing him like this, Luo Ren pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "In that case, Commander Liu, please make it clear to the leaders of the military region that I'm not willing to borrow it, but I have to give a reasonable reason." "Not bad, not bad," Liu Yangnian said. "Don't worry, I will convey the truth to my superiors." Luo Ren smiled and said, "Thank you, Commander Liu." As soon as he finished speaking, the system prompt sounded suddenly. "Alarm, alarm, alarm. If you find an air target approaching rapidly, should you activate the anti-aircraft artillery and air defense system?" "Details of the target?" Luo Ren asked secretly. 3 Zaya Kingdom main battle armed helicopters Z-10. Z-10. He couldn't help but think of what Liu Yangnian had just said. The Grand Military Region had already sent people and they would be here today. With this combination, these 3 Z-10s were most likely to be from the Grand Military Region. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 Real Purpose, Part 1. The air defense alarm sounded. Luo Ren explained the situation, and everyone walked out of the military tent and looked at the vast sky. He had issued an order before that the anti-aircraft guns should not rush to fire before the target opened fire. If the opponent came with hostility, missiles would be launched and machine guns would be fired. The anti-aircraft guns would not be polite and would directly fire to shoot down the invading enemy. In less than half a minute, the roar of the helicopter engine came from a distance. As the seconds ticked, the roar became clearer. About 10 seconds later, looking to the northwest, 3 black dots came into view. The black dots gradually became larger and the outline became clear. Now everyone could see clearly that they were 3 Z-10 armed helicopters. Among the people present, except Luo Ren, Liu Yangnian was the first to think of someone from the large military region, followed by Ziachuan and Suan Tong. The faces of several people changed. Liu Yangnian's expression fluctuated very little. He frowned and soon relaxed. I don't know what he was thinking. Ziachuan suddenly lowered his eyes and then looked at the Z-10 in the air. Suan Tong frowned, obviously treating the people on the helicopter as an invited guests. Since Luo Ren was present, she didn't say much. 3 helicopters hovered in the sky outside the west of Chiang City. No missiles were fired and no machine guns were used. It seemed that they were indeed from the major military region. We are the Jiangnan Military Region, the Tiger Special Operations Group, here to assist in the battle. Please allow us to land. The voice came from one of the 3 helicopters, and this also confirmed Luo Ren's guess. After listening, he thought for a while, and said to Suan Tong, allow them to land. Suan Tong naturally didn't want the 3 helicopters to land, but Luo Ren ordered her to do so she had to obey. She took off the intercom and said, the commander ordered that the other party be allowed to land. The order was passed down, and more than 30 Xiangxinjian soldiers, holding small colored flags in their hands, formed 3 large circles in the open space of Xinjiang. The Z-10 in the air soon discovered it, flew over Xinjiang, and landed at the designated landing site. At the same time, Luo Ren, Suan Tong, Liu Yangnian and others also quickly rushed to the scene. Just as the helicopter landed, the rotor stopped turning, and the engine was turned off. As he watched, the cockpit doors of 3 Z-10s opened at the same time, and 9 people in Xiago military uniforms got off the helicopters. Among them was a familiar face. Luo Ren said 3 words, Sun Cakesun. How could there be Sun Cakesun in this so-called Tiger Special Operations Group? Thinking of this, he tilted his head and asked, Commander Liu, do you know this Tiger Special Operations Group? Liu Yangnian shook his head and said, this is the first time I've heard of this name. This is the first time Liu Yangnian has heard of it. It seems that this so-called Tiger Special Operations Group should be newly established. 9 people from the other side came towards them. The leader was not Sun Cakesun, but a man with excellent temperament. After a closer look, Luo Ren frowned slightly and subconsciously looked at Suan Tong. He couldn't help but feel surprised and secretly exclaimed, how can they be so similar? Suan Tong felt Luo Ren's surprised eyes and immediately explained, the leader is my brother, Suan Min. Luo Ren was stunned for a moment. At this time, Suan Min and others had already walked up to him. Seeing Luo Ren standing in the C position, Suan Min couldn't help but look at him carefully and then cast a look at his sister, only to see Suan Tong bow slightly point. He immediately understood. A smile appeared on his face and said, I'm the deputy commander of the Jiangnan military region, the leader of the Tiger Special Operations Group, Suan Min. Commander Luo Ren, hello. Luo Ren came back to his senses, saw Suan Min, saw him outstretched hand, shook hands with him, and said, hello. The 2 pulled their hands back at the same time, and the atmosphere was a little awkward. The sun is so hot, let's talk indoors. Suan Tong broke the awkwardness, and Luo Ren and Suan Min agreed without hesitation. Then they got in the car and soon arrived at the conference building. There were 9 people on the other side, and Luo Ren also had several people. The reception room was not big, so many people seemed crowded. This time, the conference room had enough space and was much more comfortable. More than 10 people entered the conference room and sat down. Luo Ren pondered for a moment and said, I'm a straightforward person and don't like to beat around the bush. If I have some doubts, I will speak directly. Suan Min said, excuse me, Chief Luo. Luo Ren asked bluntly, before you came, Commander Liu received an order to borrow troops from me, and I refused. The reason for the refusal is simple. He already has thousands of troops under his command, so why should he borrow more troops? Well, This is indeed confusing. In fact, it is precisely because Commander Liu's thousands of troops are not enough that we borrow troops from your city, not to preserve our own strength and waste the power of Chiang City. Su Anmin was not stumped by the question, but gave an answer. But when these words came out, Liu Yangnian was very surprised. You know, he has not 2 or 3,000 soldiers under his command, but thousands of them, and they are all professional soldiers. They are much stronger than those temporary ragtag armies. Is this not enough? Su Anmin glanced at Liu Yangnian and explained immediately. At present, a large number of zombies from the urban area of H City are pouring into the suburbs, and Chiang City is located in the southern suburbs. According to satellite images, there are now 1 or 2 million zombies pouring into the southern suburbs in this case. If you want to go to the urban area, you must fight your way out of the 1 or 2 million zombies. Therefore, thousands of troops are not enough. At least 15,000 troops are needed, and they are all professional soldiers. Luo Ren rubbed his chin and said, according to what you said, why didn't you force your way into the urban area before the zombies poured into the suburbs? Why wait until now? Su Anmin said, before this, it is not realistic to forcefully attack the city. The city contains millions of zombies, and there are many houses and streets, which is more favorable for zombies. Now the zombies are pouring into the suburbs. Although the number is still more than 1 million, there are not so many houses and buildings in the suburbs. The terrain is open and the area is large, and those zombies are more scattered, so it is more favorable for us humans. Before they evolve to a higher level, this is a great opportunity. Luo Ren rubbed his eyebrows, pondered for a long time, and suddenly smiled and said, Team Leader Su, you said so much. I understand the basic meaning. That is, if you want to enter the city, Commander Liu's thousands of troops are not enough, and I need to lend you more. Thousands of soldiers fought their way into the city from millions of zombies. Then, I have another question. Since you are going to enter the city to annihilate the advanced evolved zombies, then you guys should all be evolvers, and you are not weak. You only need to sneak in alone. Why bother to let so many people die just to send you into the city? Isn't this a bit redundant? Pick up the teacup on the table, take a sip, and see Su Anmin silent. He said, I said at the beginning that I'm a straightforward person and don't like to beat around the bush. Team Leader Su, you should tell the truth. What is there in the city that is worth mobilizing so many troops and sacrificing tens of thousands of lives to go there? Chapter 312 Real Purpose, Part 2. Luo Ren said this because he had his own analysis, because no one is willing to spend such a huge price to do something useless. And if someone is willing to spend such a huge price to do something, then after this thing is done, this person will definitely get benefits several times more than the cost. Su Anmin was silent, and the people who came with him were all silent. Only Sun Cakesun stared at Luo Ren with a calm expression, but both Luo Ren and Su Antang knew that he must have no good words in him heart. Alas, Su Anmin sighed, saw Luo Ren's serious look, smiled, and said, since Chief Luo has made it clear, I won't hide it. Half a month ago, our satellite detected a strange building in the center of H City. This building is not as symmetrical as human buildings, nor does it have the beauty of multiple angles. Instead, it is messy and has no ornamental value. We call it the Corpse Palace. Corpse Palace? Luo Ren showed a puzzled expression. Su Anmin continued, in fact, this is not the first time we have discovered the Corpse Hall. Previously, satellites have detected such buildings in the main urban area of Shanping City. Shanping City has a large area and a small population, so there are not many zombies in the main urban area. At that time, the military district still had 1/5 of its troops available, so we entered the main urban area of Shanping City. When we arrived in the main urban area, we came into close contact with the Corpse Hall. Before we entered, many zombies rushed out of it, and they were all evolved zombies. Most of them were above level 2. We were forced to retreat by these zombies. After retreating, we did not give up, but sent a small survey robot to sneak into the Corpse Hall. We found a strange zombie in the Corpse Hall. Our military determined that this zombie had reached the level of level 4 and called it the Mother Corpse. Level 4 zombie? Luo Ren was shocked when he said this. Suan Min continued, in fact, we define the mother corpse as a level 4 zombie, not because of how fast it is, or how powerful it is, because it has a more terrifying ability than strength and speed. Commander Luo, can you guess what it is? Luo Ren frowned and guessed. Could it be that the mother corpse can create new zombies by giving birth? Suan Min said, that's half right. The mother corpse can indeed create new zombies, but not through the same way humans and other mammals give birth, but through division. After a pause, he explained, the mother corpse is very large, as big as the conference room we are in now, and all parts of its body, except for the head and heart, will randomly grow tumors. Some tumors will fall off when they grow to the size of a bucket, and in the tumors are new zombies. The new zombies will break through the outer flesh wall within 24 hours of the tumor falling off, and then rapidly grow from the size of a 7 or 8-year-old child to the size of an ordinary adult within 24 hours. Moreover, these new zombies are not ordinary zombies. Judging from their speed, they should be level 1 zombies, and from their various performances, they have self-awareness and a certain degree of wisdom. Luo Ren was horrified and said, as you said, although the mother corpse does not have super strength and speed, its ability to split new zombies is enough to be a level 4 zombie. I even think that it is stronger than a level 4 zombie. However, if your goal is just to destroy the mother corpse, wouldn't it be enough to just fire a missile at it? Could it be that can the mother corpse resist the bombing of missiles? Suan Min said, you are right. If you just want to destroy the mother corpse, it only takes one missile. The mother corpse in Shanping City was destroyed in this way before. But after the missile was launched, we regretted it, because compared to directly destroying the mother corpse, capturing it alive, and using it for a search is the best choice. Luo Ren tasted the meaning of the words, and then suddenly realized, and said, I understand, you want to capture the mother corpse alive for a search. After a pause, he continued, I don't understand a little bit. What research value is there for such a thing? Suan Min thought for a while and said, everything has its own research value, just like we learned from studying evolved zombies, that the higher the level of zombies, the stronger the cell quality, and for us evolved humans, cells the quality is also much stronger than that of ordinary humans. There is also the evolution crystal in the zombie's head. Scientists have discovered through research that the reason why it can enhance cell quality is because there is a strange energy contained in the evolution crystal. However, the nature of this strange energy is not yet understood, and now zombies can no longer be called zombies because the original meaning of zombies is a corpse that can move. In essence, they have no life and are dead. However, at present high-level evolution zombies already have wisdom, self-awareness, and vital signs. Recent studies have shown that zombies at level 2 and above have already shown joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, which is a 100% biological expression point, so low-level zombies are indeed zombies and dead bodies, while zombies above level 2 are already a new kind of creature point. After discovering the mother corpse, we learned that this creature is different from the viviparous birth of humans and other mammals. It is also different from oviparous animals, which achieve life continuation by laying eggs and hatching. Instead, it is through a method similar to splitting, which is very valuable for research. And we are not doing research for the sake of research. As the old saying goes, knowing yourself and the enemy ensures victory in every battle. If we want to completely eliminate zombies, we must understand them clearly enough. Luo Ren listened to and analyzed the long speech. When Suan Min finished speaking, he also finished his analysis. Mother corpse, split, intelligent level 1 zombie. He didn't think so much at first, but now he thinks deeply. The mother corpse can split the level 1 zombie, and there must be evolution crystals in the head of this level 1 zombie. Although it is only level 1, compared with hunting zombies, it is equivalent to a renewable resource. It only takes some time to make tens of thousands of troops all promoted to level 1 evolvers. You can imagine how terrifying the power of tens of thousands of troops who are all level 1 evolvers is. Even through some means, it is possible to make the level 1 zombies promoted so as to obtain level 2 evolution crystals, or even level 3 evolution crystals. After thinking about these clearly, he understood that the so-called research was just a byproduct, and the real purpose was to keep the mother corpse in captivity as a machine for producing evolution crystals. He looked at Su and Min, with a meaningful smile on his face, and said, "Team leader Su, you still don't want to tell the truth." Su and Min was stunned for a while, sighed heavily, and praised, "Chief Luo is able to build such a large Xiang city. He is indeed a smart man. I will tell you everything." "Team leader?" Sun Cakesun shouted immediately after hearing this. Everyone's eyes fell on him. He pretended to be calm, and coughed a few times. Su and Min smiled and said, "It's okay. Since we asked others for help, we must be honest. In fact, capturing the mother corpse alive and researching is only one of the purposes. There is another purpose." He smiled and continued, "I think Chief Luo has guessed the second purpose. Yes, it is for captivity." Hearing the word captivity, Luo Ren smiled. After going around in circles, this guy finally told the truth. If he can really sit in a high position, his words will always be a bit false. If he doesn't ask many times, he will never get a true answer. After hearing this, Sun Cakesun looked thoughtful, then frowned, as if he was very unhappy with Su and Min's true purpose. Luo Ren said, "Keeping them in captivity is a good idea." He laughed suddenly and asked, "But you want us to help, but what benefits can we get?" Chapter 313. The lion opens his mouth. Luo Ren's meaningful smile fell into Su and Min's eyes, and he felt like he was facing a cunning old man who had lived for decades. He was thinking about how to speak. Sun Cakesun next to him said in a yin and yang tone, "I said Commander Luo." He deliberately emphasized the three words Commander Luo, and attracted Luo Ren's attention. He continued, "As a citizen of Xia country, it is natural for you to work for the country. Why are you still making conditions here?" He sneered, leaned forward a little, and said, "Are you not a Xia countryman?" After saying this, Su and Min glanced at Sun Cakesun, but did not scold him. Instead, he stared at Luo Ren, waiting for his answer. Before Luo Ren spoke, Su and Tang's face had already become ugly. She glared at Sun Cakesun, and was about to scold him, but was stopped by Luo Ren's eyes. Luo Ren's eyes fell on Sun Cakesun, pretending to be surprised, and said in surprise, "Ah, isn't this Mr. Sun? Why, the bones have grown." Sun Cakesun's face suddenly turned red, and anger surged in his eyes. This guy really deserves a beating. His palms placed under the table could not help but clenched into fists, and everyone present could hear it. There is a click sound when the knuckles are rubbed together. Soon, he suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, "I won't mention the past anymore. You haven't answered my question yet. Are you from the Xia kingdom, Luo?" Ren actually wanted to say in his heart that my soul is not from this world. Even if it is from Xia country, it is only in the body, not in the soul. You know, the soul controls the body, so in principle, he is really not from the Xia kingdom. However, he couldn't actually say that. He thought hard and immediately came up with a response, saying, "Of course I'm from Xia." After a pause, he asked, "But what does it mean to work for the country?" "Humph." Sun Cakesun snorted coldly and mocked, "Commander Luo, Commander Luo, do you have no patriotism, or do you really know nothing? Our military belongs to the country, and working for us is working for Xia." Luo Ren showed a mocking smile and shook his head. Bang. Seeing this, Sun Cakesun immediately slapped the table and stood up, pointing at Luo Ren's nose and questioning, "What do you mean? Are you denying Xia, Su?" And Min frowned slightly. Although the current situation is like this, the country's jurisdiction has weakened a lot, and it is even serious to the brink of collapse. But in his cognition, the concept of home and country should be deeply rooted in the hearts of every Xia citizen. Now Luo Ren's attitude seems to be denying his home and country, which makes him feel a little unhappy. Su and Tang was also a little surprised. After all, she was not only a Xia national, but also a military family member, and she had a strong sense of family and country in her heart. Xia Chuan also looked at Luo Ren in surprise. Liu Yangnian looked at Luo Ren's smile, thinking. Among the people who came with Su and Min, 5 of them, including Sun Cakesun, had undisguised anger on their faces, and the other 3 were thinking and acting more rationally. Luo Ren saw everyone's reactions one by one. He stared at Sun Cakesun and said, Deputy Commander Sun, don't put a hat on me. I don't deny the country. I just think that the main body of the country should not be the military. Why do you say that? Suan Min asked. Luo Ren sat up straighter, his eyes swept over the people present, settled on Suan Tong for a moment, and finally settled on Suan Min, saying, have you ever heard a saying? Don't keep me in suspense, fart quickly. Sun Cakesun scolded. Luo Ren froze, and then looked at Sun Cakesun. Although his eyes were calm, Sun Cakesun couldn't help but feel cold on his back. Suan Min scolded. Deputy Division Commander Sun, you and I are representing the military region. When we are outside, don't lose etiquette, sit down quickly. After being scolded, Sun Cakesun felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten a dead child. Luo Ren then retracted his gaze and continued, have you ever heard of this sentence? The world belongs to everyone in the world. Liu Yang Nian heard this, and the corners of his mouth raised an arc, and his eyes showed approval without concealing it. Zhao Chuan was stunned at first, and then he couldn't help but show a look of approval. Suan Tong had long lost her surprised expression, and replaced it with a relaxed look. Sun Cakesun's face became even uglier. Suan Min suddenly laughed and praised, Commander Luo is right. The world is indeed the world of everyone in the world. The main body of the country is indeed not only the military, but also the people. In this sentence, Suan Min changed not to not only, and the meaning was not a little different. Luo Ren also noticed it, but he just took a sip of tea, did not refute, and did not speak again, but waited for Suan Min's next words. Suan Min saw that Luo Ren's expression did not change, and he did not pick words, so he continued, as Chief Luo said, the military is also composed of the people. Isn't it true that serving the military is serving the country? So, Chief Luo, what is the reward? After saying this, Suan Min smiled at Luo Ren to see how he would refute. But Luo Ren still had a faint smile on his face, and said, what Team Leader Su said does make sense, but it ignores the overall situation. Putting down the teacup, he continued, my Chiang city has a population of more than 500,000. If I send troops to help you, the city defense will definitely be weakened, and the risks in the city will definitely increase significantly. After the matter is accomplished, I will get nothing, unable to strengthen the city defense, and even unable to restore the current city defense strength. Isn't this putting more than 500,000 people in the world in danger? So, when we are both countries, we need to weigh the pros and cons. According to my judgment, protecting more than 500,000 people in the city is more important than helping you break into the city and capture the mother corpse alive. Suan Min said, General Luo, the affairs of the country are not big or small, how can you judge by weighing the pros and cons? Luo Ren said, the affairs of the country are not big or small, but there are priorities. Between the two, we will naturally choose the more important one, although Suan Min knew that Luo Ren was sophistry and didn't he want to do anything that was not beneficial. He couldn't find a place to refute for a while. He was silent for a long time, rubbed his forehead, and compromised. There is no need to argue about this kind of thing. Let's get back to the topic. I don't know what kind of benefits General Luo wants to be willing to lend troops to help us. Luo Ren said, I'm not greedy. We will divide the evolved zombies produced by the mother corpse into 40% and 60%, and I will take 60%. After hearing this, Sun Cakesun slammed the table and stood up again, angrily saying, Luo Ren, you are asking too much, 40% to 60%. Before he finished speaking, he was stopped by Suan Min. Sun Cakesun could only sit down helplessly and glared at Luo Ren with cold eyes. Hiss. Luo Ren took a deep breath. He was scolded in such a manner repeatedly, and he was also a little angry. He stared at Sun Cakesun with cold eyes, and the palm on the table gradually increased the force, and only a creaking sound was heard. Commander Luo is magnanimous. Deputy Division Commander Sun can't speak. I apologize to you on his behalf. Sorry. Suan Min suddenly spoke, his face full of apology. He then said, I will report your request to the military region. Commander Su has always been fair and just, and will never let those who work hard suffer injustice. I think he will agree. After hearing this, Luo Ren maintained his original posture for a long time, then retracted his gaze for Suan Min's sake, and at the same time, pulled back his hand that was pressing on the table, leaving a dent in the tablet top. Chapter 314 Extraction, Part 1. Suan-Min's eyes drifted down, and he saw the palm prints on the table, secretly guessing Luo Ren's current evolutionary level. Luo Ren saw these details, but did not pay too much attention to them. After hearing Suan-Min's answer, he nodded and said, "Since we need to ask for instructions from our superiors, today's meeting will end here until your military superiors reply. Let's talk again." He looked at Suan Tong and said, "And Tong, I still have some urgent matters to deal with. Please arrange a place for them to live." Although she didn't know what happened to Luo Ren, Suan Tong still nodded in agreement. Luo Ren then said to Suan-Min, "I'm sorry, I am sorry." After that, he left the conference room directly without waiting for the other party's answer. Bang. Sun Cake-Sun slammed the table again and angrily said, "Team Leader Su, this Luo Ren is too arrogant. He actually left by himself and let a woman." Seeing Suan Tong, he swallowed back the words that were on his lips and said in a different tone, "Even if there is something, I have to arrange it for me before we can handle it. I don't understand the way of hospitality at all." Suan-Min glanced at Sun Cake-Sun, and when he looked away, a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes. "This thing is petty, hot-tempered, and secretive." Looking at his sister's sullen expression, he said softly, "Deputy Master Sun has such a temper. Be a little anxious, don't mean any harm, don't be angry." Suan Tong mocked, "I don't think he's impatient, but he's petty." "You." Sun Cake-Sun was immediately angry, but thinking of the relationship between Suan Tong and Suan-Min, he could only hold back the anger regarding Sun Cake-Sun's failure. Suan Tong sneered, then looked at her brother and said, "Brother, come with me, and I will arrange a place for you." "Okay." Suan-Min agreed, and immediately greeted him subordinates. "Let's go." Several people followed Suan Tong out of the conference room. Suan Tong said while walking, "There is currently a serious shortage of housing resources in the city, and the construction team is stepping up construction, so the comfort of the accommodation arranged for you will definitely not be as good as the previous hotels." Suan-Min said, "It's okay. When we were new recruits, who didn't sleep in the wild, or on the floor, in a city, military zone point in the research institute, Luo Ren took out the dragon pattern crystal from the Xianwu Mountain Golden Summit Institute, and handed it to Yanling. Yanling observed the dragon pattern crystal carefully, then nodded heavily and said, "Yes, it is indeed the dragon pattern crystal." Luo Ren said, "Aren't you talking nonsense? If it weren't for the dragon pattern crystal, why would I bring it back? Hurry up and extract the life energy from it." Yanling scratched his head in embarrassment, placed the dragon pattern crystal on the scientific research table, and said, "Sir, later." Then he turned and walked into the storage room. Luo Ren immediately heard the tinkling sound of rummaging, and soon the sound stopped, and Yanling came out holding a machine that was half a person tall. Excluding the base, this instrument has an overall cylindrical shape. From top to bottom, the first quarter is made of a transparent material that looks like glass, and the lower half is made of frosted black gold. You can't tell what material it is. Yanling placed the instrument on the scientific research table, took a few deep breaths, and said, "Sir, this is a small life energy extractor. Can I feel it up close?" Luo Ren asked. Yanling said, "Of course, you can do it yourself." Luo Ren started immediately and stroked the instrument for a while. The transparent part felt smooth, more like glass, while the base had a rougher frosted feel. Looking at the base, it is not just a base. There is a screen on it. "I don't know whether it is used for control or viewing." He asked doubtfully, "How does this instrument extract life energy?" Yanling stepped forward and touched the screen with his index finger. Immediately, a science fiction style system picture appeared on the screen. Luo Ren couldn't understand it anyway. I saw Feiling's fingers sliding, and after a moment, he suddenly heard a crisp sound of ding. Then under Luo Ren's gaze, a circle appeared on the black gold part of the instrument, which was like a single body, and then a circle stretched out from the circle part. Brackets. When the bracket was fully extended, Feiling put the dragon grain crystal into the bracket, then lightly touched the screen, and the bracket retracted until no gap could be seen. At this moment, the instrument was integrated again. Bite. Dragon grain crystal quality inspection is in progress. Byte. The current dragon grain crystal quality level is E. Start extracting the life energy of dragon pattern crystal. It is expected to take 2 hours. Please wait. The instrument makes a crisp sound and then gives a voice prompt. Luo Ren touched his nose, pondered for a long time, looked at Qianling and asked, "Is this okay?" The reason why he asked this was because in his mind, extracting the life energy from the dragon pattern crystal was a very high level thing. It must be wonderful, and dazzling, but this was not as quiet as the juicer. Ah. Yanling nodded and explained, science pays attention to rigor and practicality. If it is not necessary, we will not come up with some fancy things. Alright. Luo Ren could only admit that he was overthinking it. It was also because he had watched too many TV shows and movies in the past. When he saw these high-end scientific instruments, he always thought of them in terms of splendor. In actual fact, whether it is the dragon hospitality crystal detector or the small life energy extractor in front of you, they are also simple and unpretentious in a city dormitory building. Suanmin was using the satellite phone. He said, "Commander, as for borrowing troops, Luo Ren, the supreme ruler of Chiang City, is not willing to agree, but there are conditions, and the conditions are much higher than the specifications set when we set off." The person on the other end of the phone said, "Let's talk about it, Su." And Min said, "He wants us to split the evolution crystals produced by the mother corpse with him, 40% and 60% with him, and 40% with us." There was silence on the other end of the phone for a while, and the subsequent voice was still calm, saying, "We can agree to this condition." Suanmin was not surprised at all, because he knew Commander Su, and believed that he would agree to Luo Ren's conditions 80% of the time. After the person on the other end of the phone finished speaking, he paused for a moment and then said, "Regarding the corpse hall, in addition to the mother corpse, have you told that Luo Ren anything else?" Suanmin said firmly, "Only the mother corpse. I have never spoken to anyone else about the rest, and I will not speak to anyone else. Please rest assured, Commander, of course I trust you." As he said that, the person on the other end of the phone suddenly sighed and said, "Andman, you must complete this mission successfully. We are facing more than just zombies now." Suanmin was awed in his heart and asked seriously, "Commander, how is the situation in Yunlang City?" "The situation is not optimistic, so we urgently need you to bring back the things in the corpse hall in H City." Suanmin clenched his fists and said angrily, "These wolf cubs are really vicious by nature." "Commander, don't worry, I will complete the mission successfully." "Okay, I'll wait for you to come back." Chapter 315 Extraction, Part 2. After 2 hours of waiting, there was finally new news about the cylindrical life energy extractor. Byte. Just a crisp sound was heard, and the quarter of the transparent glass part suddenly lit up with a tender green light. At first, this light was just a faint fluorescent light, and became brighter and brighter as it went back. In less than half a minute, the faint fluorescent light had already become a dazzling light point. Although the light is strong, it is not dazzling, and it has a soft and comfortable feeling when it shines on the body. The whole person's spirit is refreshed, and the physical fatigue is gradually dissipated under the light point. After a minute, the green light reached its peak, and the entire institute was filled with green light point. Search TWKAN on Google. Sudden, without warning or predictability, the light suddenly became restrained, and the light that filled the entire institute also disappeared in an instant. Luo Ren stared nervously at the transparent part of the extractor, where a pool of tender green objects the size of billiard balls, like water droplets, were sinking and floating. The amplitude of the ups and downs gradually became smaller, and it returned to calm after 3 minutes. At this time, the pool of tender green liquid the size of a billiard ball was round and smooth, and it looked like the highest quality ice jade. Byte. The refining of life energy is completed, and the loss of this refining is 16.5%. Accompanied by the beep, the round top of the transparent part of the instrument suddenly cracked, and then slowly rose up, dragging the refined life energy. But at this moment, the round bead-like ball of life energy suddenly dropped, and took on the appearance of a liquid. This started Luo Ren, and he thought it was going to spill all over the floor. However, he was just trying to scare himself. The life energy was already in a transparent bottle, and the bottle had no mouth, and was completely sealed. Where did this glass bottle come from? Luo Ren asked. Feeling explained. The life energy extracted from the dragon pattern crystal will evaporate quickly when exposed to the air, so it needs to be loaded in a container, and the best container is its original crystal. This bottle is made of the dragon pattern crystal. After hearing this, Luo Ren suddenly realized. No wonder he didn't see the extractor spitting out waste. It turned out to be completely used. Yanling stepped on his feet and carefully removed the bottle containing pure life energy, then handed it to Luo Ren and said, "Sir, this is a life energy extracted from the dragon pattern crystal." Luo Ren took it carefully. At this moment, he was extremely excited. For him, this was not only a small bottle of pure life energy, but more importantly, it was a life-saving thing. He took a deep breath, suppressed his excitement, and asked, "How to use this?" Yanling said, "Oral administration is the best, followed by inhalation." Luo Ren asked, "What does this breathing method mean?" Yanling explained, "The so-called breathing method is to place life energy in front of you and expose it to the air to evaporate freely, so that part of the life energy can be absorbed during breathing. That's it. I'd better take it orally." Luo Ren decisively gave up on breathing. He raised his life energy to be parallel to his eyes and waved it in front of his eyes for half a minute. Without further ado, he rushed thousands of miles to Xianwu Mountain to get the dragon pattern crystal. It wasn't just for this moment, so why hesitate? He took a deep breath, pinched the closed bottle mouth with his index finger and thumb, and then applied a little force. Crack. The crisp cracking sound echoed in the research institute, and pure life energy suddenly floated out. A slight sniff made him energetic, and it was a shameful waste. Luo Ren would not let the life energy evaporate, and immediately drank up the liquid in the bottle in one gulp. The life energy liquid immediately flowed into the abdomen, and then the majestic life energy exploded instantly. Unlike swallowing evolutionary crystals, like tens of millions of ants biting the whole body, the life energy in this dragon crystal is the purest and purest, formed by natural condensation. After the explosion, the whole body feels like bathing in the warm sun on a cold winter day. It's like drinking ice water on a hot summer day. The feeling of relief cannot be expressed in words. At the same time, while this life energy strengthened the body cells, Luo Ren also felt that a strange substance was being dissolved by the life energy, which made his body feel much more relaxed. It seemed that the zombie virus hidden in the body was destroyed by the dragon. The crystalline life energy was purified. Time passed by, and this time the body strengthening lasted much longer than any previous consumption of evolutionary crystals, lasting half an hour. Yanling stood aside quietly, looking out the door from time to time. He knew that when taking the life energy to evolve, Luo Ren was unable to move, so even if he knew that almost no one would disturb him here, he would still keep your spirits up and stand guard for Luo Ren. At this moment, Luo Ren's eyelids moved, and then he slowly opened them. His eyes were restrained, and they looked like ordinary eyes. Looking at his body, his height, muscles, skin color, etc. were the same as before, without any changes. It's a pity that this dragon pattern crystal was not conceived in Xianwu Mountain. It should have been buried under the Golden Summit Hall by someone, most likely the ancestor of Xianwu Dao sect. Over the years, a lot of life energy has escaped, otherwise, I would not have just reached this level. Luo Ren still remembers that the system originally said that the life energy contained in the complete dragon pattern crystal was enough for an ordinary person to reach the level of a 5th level evolver. However, this time the life energy extracted from the dragon pattern crystal did not allow him to reach this level. So, a few seconds after the evolution was completed, he asked the system what was going on. The system's answer is this: although the Xianwu Mountain dragon pattern crystal is complete, it has not been in the breeding ground for a long time, and a large amount of life energy has been lost, so it cannot achieve a complete effect. Through these words, he had the inner talk just now. However, this regretful feeling only existed for a moment, and he was soon relieved. After all, his main purpose was to eliminate the zombie virus and save his life. As for the other benefits, they were all incidental. He stretched his waist, felt the comfort all over his body, looked at Yanling, and said, "Thank you for your hard work." Yanling immediately stood at attention and said, "It's not hard to work for the boss." Luo Ren smiled and suddenly remembered something. He touched his pocket and took out 3 evolution crystals, Turquoise level 3 and 1 level 3. He asked, can the extractor extract the life energy in the evolution crystal? The extractor is suitable for any object that contains life energy, and evolution crystals can certainly do it. Yanling said affirmatively. Luo Ren handed over the evolution crystal in his hand and then took it back. He asked again, which is better, taking the evolution crystal directly or extracting the life energy from the evolution crystal before taking it? It's better to take it after extraction. Yan Ling pushed up his glasses and gestured with his right hand. Research shows that taking the evolution crystal directly can only absorb 63.2% of the life energy. Although there is a probability of losing 5% to 20% of the life energy when extracting it through an extractor, the life energy liquid after extraction can be completely absorbed by the organism, so it is better than taking it directly. After Luo Ren understood, he did not hesitate and immediately handed the 3 evolution crystals in his hand to Yanling for extraction. Yanling took the evolution crystal and followed the same steps. He operated on the screen of the base, then stretched out the bracket and put all 3 evolution crystals into the bracket. This extraction took much less time. After 45 minutes, the life energy was extracted. The final result was 2 bottles of life energy liquid. One bottle was colorless like water, and the other bottle was light green. Feiling introduced the colorless life energy liquid, saying, this is level 2 life energy liquid, suitable for creatures above perfect level 1 evolvers, and below perfect level 2 evolvers. Then, he introduced the light green bottle, saying, this is level 3 life energy liquid, suitable for creatures above perfect level 2 evolvers, and below perfect level 3 evolvers. Taking the 2 bottles of life energy liquid, it is obvious that there is more level 2 energy liquid. Level 3 energy liquid is only a quarter of a bottle, but it has a full bottle. I guessed that this level 2 energy liquid should be extracted from Turquoise level 3 evolution crystals. Unexpectedly, there is so much. After putting away the 2 bottles of life energy liquid, he couldn't help but look at the extractor, his eyes rolling, and suddenly asked, is there a bigger one of this thing that can extract life energy in batches and at a fast speed? Although the extractor in front of him is more than half a person's height, from the extraction work just now, it seems that the extraction of dragon crystal took 2 hours. It takes only Turquoise level 3 crystals plus 1 level 3 evolution crystal for 45 minutes. This efficiency is really unsatisfactory. Yes. Yanling answered affirmatively at first, and then said, but the current level of the research institute is not enough, and the intermediate extractor and the advanced or higher level extractor cannot be used for the time being. This is the same as the dragon pattern crystal detector. There are bigger and stronger ones, but the research institute is not of enough level, so they cannot be used. Luo Ren was helpless. It seems that increasing the population and upgrading the base are still the most important things. He took a long breath and said, okay, I know. After that, he stepped out of the research institute, got in the car, and drove straight to the mobile base. It didn't take long to arrive. At this time, the gate of the mobile base was closed. The guards on duty saw Luo Ren. Since he didn't participate in the defense of the city, although he knew that the commander had returned, he didn't see it until now, and his excitement was completely reflected on his face. He saluted and said excitedly, Commander. Luo Ren smiled and nodded, then pushed the door open and moved his ears. He didn't hear any movement of strangers. It seems that Suan Tang has not returned yet. Just after sitting down and pouring a glass of water for himself, he suddenly heard the roar of an engine outside the house. He looked up and thought it was Suan Tang who came back, but heard the guard at the door shouting, report to the commander, the guard Liu Liangxin wants to see you. Liangxin. Luo Ren's heart moved. It seems that he has not seen Liu Liangxin since he came back. He hurriedly said, let her in. After a moment of his voice falling, he saw Liu Liangxin walking in with light footsteps. He saw endless longing in her bright eyes, walking to the opposite side and slowly sitting down, staring at each other with bright eyes. Liu Liangxin said, Brother Ren, you are back. Luo Ren had a gentle smile on his face, slightly, and said, "I'm back." The two stared at each other for a long time, and finally Liu Liangxin broke the silence. She said, "The first thing I came for was to hear that Brother Ren was back in the city, so I came to see you. Point. The second thing is that my father asked me to come and tell you that Deputy Commander Su contacted the top and reported your conditions. The top rejected." Luo Ren asked. He did not hold out hope for this. When he proposed it, he was ready to accept the rejection. However, Liu Liangxin shook her head and said, "The top agreed to your conditions." Luo Ren was a little surprised and said to himself, "They actually agreed." Rubbing his eyebrows, he smiled bitterly and said to himself, "Are my conditions not strong enough? Why did they agree?" Liu Liangxin was very surprised. Logically speaking, it should be a happy thing to have the conditions agreed to, but Luo Ren's reaction was just the opposite. She couldn't help but asked in confusion, "Brother Ren, what are you doing?" Luo Ren smiled bitterly and said, "I didn't originally want to send troops, so I made a big deal, thinking that the military region would refuse directly. But who would have thought they actually agreed? How can this be justified?" After Liu Liangxin heard this, she understood Luo Ren's reaction and asked curiously, "What conditions did you put for the lion to open its mouth?" Luo Ren recounted all the previous conversations in the conference room. After hearing this, Liu Liangxin frowned slightly, pondered for a long time, and said, "In my judgment, the Grand Military Region can agree to this condition for two reasons. First, the mother corpse is indeed precious, and even if it only produces 40% of the evolution crystals, it is worth the risk. Secondly, there is something more valuable than the mother's corpse in the corpse palace." Something more valuable? Luo Ren rubbed his chin, thought about it secretly for a long time, and then said, "Since the other party agrees to my conditions, you must be honest, and I agree to lend troops." Liu Liangxin's eyes flickered, and she vaguely knew what Luo Ren was planning. She nodded and said, "I will convey it to my father." Chapter 316, The Evolution of the Two Women, Part 1. Luo Ren's fingers tapped on the wooden table, and the crisp sound was very clear in the mobile base. He stared at Liu Liangxin for a while, and suddenly touched his body. He put such an important thing as life energy liquid in the inner pocket of his clothes. At this time, his movements looked like taking off clothes in Liu Liangxin's eyes. Two blushes suddenly appeared on Liu Liangxin's cheeks, and she said shyly, "Brother Ren, what are you doing?" Luo Ren stopped, raised his head and replied, "I'll give you something good." After saying that, he continued to fumble around, muttering words that only he could hear. "Where did you put it? Why can't I find it?" "Good stuff." Liu Liangxin's inner thoughts made her cheeks even more rosy. She was not mentally prepared for such a sudden change. She couldn't help but become more shy and whispered, "I am not ready yet, and there's no door. It's off." Luo Ren waved his hand and said, "It's okay. The sentry is a soldier of the gods, one of our own." Liu Liangxin's face was already red. When she heard what Luo Ren said, she was shocked and embarrassed. Her head suddenly shook like a rattle, and she kept saying, "No, no, no, no. It has nothing to do with whether you are one of your own. Doing this kind of things can only happen between the two of us." Found it. Luo Ren rummaged through his upper body pockets for a long time, and then he remembered that he had put it in his trouser pocket. He reached out and touched it, and sure enough, he immediately took out the bottle of colorless level 2 life energy liquid. At the same time, he heard Liu Liangxin's words, and saw her shaking her head like a rattle and her cheeks were red. Luo Ren was surprised and asked, "What's wrong with you? What can only the two of us do?" "Oh." Liu Liangxin coquettishly said, "That's what you want to do." "What do I want to do?" Luo Ren looked at the life energy liquid in his hand and said, "No, I'll take care of this. You can do it yourself." "Ah, you looking at?" 3 words came out of Liu Liangxin's mouth almost one after another. Although they were brief, they contained 3 meanings: shame, anger, grievance, and sadness. She suddenly stood up and cried, "I'm not that kind of woman, and I would never do that kind of confused thing." After that, he turned around and walked out of the house. Luo Ren looked, but instinctively stood up and grabbed Liu Liangxin and said quickly, "Oh, Liangxin, forget it if you don't want this life energy liquid. Why are you angry?" Liu Lian was stunned, turned around with a bit of confusion on her aggrieved face and asked, "What kind of life energy liquid?" "Now, this." Luo Ren raised the life energy liquid in his hand and explained, "This is life energy extracted from evolutionary crystals, and the effect is much better than taking the evolutionary crystals directly. I remember that you are currently a medium level 2 evolver, and this bottle is exactly the level 2 life energy liquid, which is very suitable for you." Liu Liangxin took the life energy liquid and remembered the impure thoughts she had just had. She felt embarrassed and at the same time felt even more shy. Luo Ren couldn't help but blurt it out, "Why is your face so red? It's like a ripe apple." After a pause, he asked again, "Lianxin, why did you suddenly get angry just now? I didn't say you were that a woman." Liu Liangxin lowered her head. At this moment, she wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in, or find a pile of sand to bury her head in. It was so embarrassing. Seeing that Liu Liangxin was silent for a long time, Luo Ren waved his hand and said generously, "Forget it. If you don't want to talk, I won't ask any more questions." Liu Liangxin, with blushing cheeks, stood silent for a long time and then sat down. She raised her head and looked at Luo Ren, but when their eyes collided, she immediately avoided it and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito, "Brother Ren, how to use energy liquid in this life? Or should I take it directly like the evolution crystal?" Luo Ren said, "Yes, just take it directly." Liu Liangxin nodded slightly and lowered her eyes to her hands. She saw the life energy liquid and looked at it. There was no bottle mouth. She looked at Luo Ren in surprise. Luo Ren was seen making gestures with his hands and imitating crack. She understood immediately and immediately crushed the mouth of the bottle, and the life energy immediately floated out. She took a deep breath to refresh herself, and then she drank it. Gil After taking down a whole bottle of life energy, she immediately closed her eyes to rest, and her body was undergoing wonderful changes. About 10 minutes later, she slowly opened her eyes, and a blue light suddenly appeared in her eyes, which was extinguished after dozens of seconds. This was the level of a peak level 2 evolver. Exhaling a long breath, she felt more comfortable than ever before. She looked at Luo Ren with grateful eyes, bowed slightly and said, "Thank you, Brother Ren." Luo Ren said, "You are a member of the guards. When you become stronger, you also increase the strength of the guards. I'm not doing this just for you." Although she heard this, Liu Liangxin still felt warm in her heart. There were more than 10,000 people in the guard army, and Luo Shan and Luo He were also level 2 evolvers. If they were given this bottle of life energy liquid, they could reach the peak of level 2 evolvers. Therefore, from this point of view, Luo Ren still favors himself. But the roar of the engine came from outside, and then he heard the sound of opening and closing the car door, and then the sound of footsteps. Just from the footsteps, Luo Ren could tell that it was Suan Tang who was back. Sure enough, Suan Tang walked into the mobile base with her long and straight legs, and immediately saw Luo Ren and Liu Liangxin. The blush on Liu Liangxin's face had not dissipated yet, which made her stop immediately. He glanced at Luo Ren, then looked at Liu Liangxin, walked a few steps closer, frowned slightly, and said, "What are you two doing?" Luo Ren said seriously, "Lianxin came and told me that the military region has agreed to my terms, so I'm ready to agree to borrow troops." The military region agreed? Suan Tang was immediately surprised, and then said, "Brother Ren, do you really plan to borrow troops? The current situation is no different than usual. There are zombies attacking the city several times every day, and they are all large-scale zombie groups. Moreover, Chiang City is large in area, and the direction of the zombie attack in the city is uncertain from southeast to northwest, so we need a lot of troops to defend the city. If we borrow troops to go out, I'm afraid the security of the city's defense will be greatly affected." Liu Liangxin agreed, and Tong is right. City defense currently requires troops. If a large number of troops are actually transferred, it will inevitably affect city defense security. Luo Ren frowned slightly and asked, "How many troops are being used for city defense at the moment? Please tell me the specific arrangements." Suan Tong brought a chair and sat down and said, "We are currently defending the city. The guards are responsible for defending the city. There are 10,000 people in the 4 cities of southeast, northwest and northwest. A total of 8,000 people have been mobilized. The remaining 2,000 escort soldiers are also responsible for the remaining logistics and ammunition transportation. As for the Xiangxing army, zombies are currently attacking the city, making it impossible for hunting and gathering teams to enter and exit, and some pessimists spread pessimistic remarks and rumors every day, causing panic among the people in the city. The deterrence of the public security station is no longer enough, so the army needs to patrol and maintain law and order, and Xiangxing is responsible for this." Chapter 317, The Evolution of Two Women, Part 2. After listening to Suan Tong's remarks, Luo Ren held his chin in his hand and fell into deep thought. After a moment, he asked, "Have those people who spread pessimistic remarks been arrested?" Suan Tong shook his head and said, "We haven't arrested him yet." "Then, arrest them directly. Also, anyone who makes trouble at this time will be punished double, and anyone who spreads rumors will be arrested." At the same time, the rule was set that the first time someone spreads rumors or pessimistic remarks, he would be detained for 1 day and given a verbal education. The second time, he was detained for 7 days and reformed through labor. He looked cold and said, "The third time, expel me from the city." Su and Tong and Liu Lian suddenly felt a chill in their hearts. Expelling them from the city would lead to death. In the past, this only applied to those who committed intentional murder and attempted murder. Even those who intentionally injured others were subject to reform through labor and ideology education. However, now, after spreading the rumor more than 3 times, he was expelled from the city. Suan Tong couldn't help but said, "Isn't it too much of a punishment to be expelled from the city?" In troubled times, heavy laws are used. These people are spreading these remarks at this time, disturbing people's hearts, and destroying public order, causing the army to spend troops to maintain public order. Originally, these troops could be used to strengthen defense. What is the difference between them and the enemy in doing so? Therefore, such people must be severely punished. Taking a deep breath, Luo Ren continued, "There are also some people who take advantage of foreign troubles to do something that violates the rules. The reason why these people dare to do this is because they think that we are focusing on the city's defense and think that they will not commit crimes. They will be noticed, so they must be punished more severely to serve as a warning to others." Taking a deep breath, he looked cold and his eyes were full of coldness and said, "Kill those who deserve to be killed and expel those who deserve to be expelled. We can't let a few rat droppings spoil the pot of porridge. Since these people don't want to live a good life, then just be like them as you wish." Luo Ren's words were cold and full of murderous intent. They were definitely not just words. After hearing this, the 2 women felt awe-inspiring in their hearts. However, if they thought about it carefully, they found that there was nothing wrong with Luo Ren's decision. Chiang currently has a population of more than 500,000, and among them there are some thornheads who cannot shed tears without seeing the coffin. Such people seriously affect the lives of other residents, and if these people are not punished severely, then they will inevitably become more arrogant. The arrogance is even greater. Therefore, in order to make most people live a more comfortable life, this small part of the dross can be completely given up. After thinking about it for a while, Suan Tong nodded and said, "Okay, that's it." After a long silence, Luo Ren's expression softened and he said, "Let's get back to the point. There are 7,000 Cheyenne march troops and 10,000 escort troops. Now the garrison of the city and the transportation of ammunition have exactly used 10,000 escort troops." He thought for a while and then said, "In my opinion, 5,000 people can be taken from the Cheyenne March army and replaced by 5,000 guards, and these 5,000 troops can be loaned out. As for how to replace these 5,000 Sky March troops, this is what I thought about. 2,000 were replaced for ammunition transportation, and the remaining 3,000 were divided into 4 parts and integrated into the 4-sided city defense. Each replaced 750 people. After such a long period of training, the Sky March troops were still relatively small. Not as good as professional soldiers, but not too different, and their replacement will not have much impact on city defense. What do you think?" Facing the inquiry, Suan Tong and Liu Lian were thoughtful. Then, Suan Tong was the first to speak. She said, I think it is feasible. After so many days of offensive and defensive battles, we have a good location on the city wall, and have enough heavy weapons. Even if the soldiers defending the city are not all professional soldiers, but they can also bear it. After her words fell, Liu Liangxin then echoed, well, and Tong is right. It is no problem for Xiangxing army to replace part of the escort army. After a pause, she continued, but, in this case, only 2 people will be left. Is it enough to maintain law and order in the city with 1,000 soldiers? Luo Ren held his chin with his left hand, placed his right hand on the table, and tapped his index finger on the table, making a rhythmic ta-da-da sound. After a long time, he suddenly sat up straight and said, as long as we can subdue the residents among the residents at the first time, black sheep, don't let these people fan other people, that's enough. After a moment of silence, he smiled when he saw the expressions of the 2 women and said, don't worry, I know what's going on. Su and Tong and Liu Liangxin both believed in Luo Ren, and knew Luo Ren well. Since Luo Ren said he knew what he knew, he must have his own plan. They didn't need to worry about it. They only needed to do what Luo Ren ordered. Luo Ren roughly guessed what the 2 women were thinking from the changes in their expressions. He smiled again and said, okay, I'll leave the personal exchange matter to Antong. Then his eyes moved to Liu Liangxin and said, Liangxin, go and inform your father and that team leader Su about my promise to send troops. Remember, we are sending troops, not borrowing them. Sending troops? Borrowing troops? Liu Liangxin was slightly startled, then solemnly nodded and said, I understand. After a moment of pause, she said, then I'll go first. Luo Ren said, go. Watching Liu Liangxin leave, Suan Tong suddenly stood up, then leaned close to Luo Ren, frowning slightly, staring straight at her with big beautiful eyes. Kyang nose sniffed, but did not smell any other smell. Then sit back in your chair. She crossed her arms and said, looking at her blushing face, I thought you were going to do something here, but I happened to hit you. Luo Ren shrugged, and said to himself, didn't you say you were willing to accept it earlier? Why are you still nagging now? He rubbed his brows helplessly, suddenly remembered something, and immediately took out the bottle of light green level 3 life energy liquid from his trouser pocket. Suan Tong is now at the peak of the level 2 evolver, and is only 1 step away from becoming a level 3 evolver. He pushed the life energy liquid in front of her and said, drink it. Suan Tong stared at the thumb-thick bottle of light green liquid, and then without saying a word, she crushed the bottle mouth and drank it all. The next moment, life energy exploded in her body, and she could clearly feel that her cells were being strengthened. There was a slight itch, but more of a comfort. Luo Ren had personally experienced the pain of being bitten by millions of ants when evolving to level 3, but when he saw that Suan Tong not only did not groan in pain, but also had an expression of enjoyment on her face, he was stunned. Could it be that the life energy after extraction will reduce the pain during evolution? No, it not only reduces the pain, judging from the appearance, it should be completely painless, and it also increases a lot of pleasure. About 10 minutes later, Suan Tong slowly opened her eyes, and said in surprise, is this the evolution crystal, liquid? Luo Ren did not comment, and said, you can call it that, because this is what is extracted from the evolution crystal. Su and Tong giggled, stood up and walked to Luo Ren's side, then sat on his thighs, with her delicate face close to his face, and said, I knew it was a good thing. Su and Tong completely trusted Luo Ren. Just like Luo Ren did not explain what the green liquid was just now, she still drank it all. Her eyebrows were like paintings, her mouth exhaled orchids, so close, it was quite tempting. Luo Ren swallowed his saliva lightly, and couldn't help but put his hands around Suan Tong's slender waist. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318. Let's talk again. After the storm, Luo Ren mentioned the expansion of the Xiangxing army. The city now has a population of 500,000, and the Xianxing army only has 7,000 people. Counting the 10,000 guards, there are only 17,000 people, which is really a bit small. The guards had no way to recruit people, so they could only expand the Xian march. After some discussions, he set an appropriate number, 20,000 Xian march, which meant recruiting 13,000 people from among the residents. Previously, Luo Ren was worried about recruiting troops from among the residents, and was even unwilling to do so, but now he has experienced firsthand what the law of true fragrance is. After it was confirmed, the recruitment expansion was handed over to Su Antong, the nominal supreme commander of the Xianxing army, but he had other things to deal with. After discussing the matter, he left the mobile base directly and came to the inner city barracks. We did not come to the barracks to find Luo Shan, Luo He and others. In fact, at this time, except for the Bicheng city defense, the other 3 city defenses were all in the new city area. They focused on being stationed nearby, so the escorts were stationed under the city wall to facilitate quick shift changes and support point. All in all, there are no guard soldiers stationed in the inner city barracks. If you want to find people from the guards, you won't be able to find them here. And when he came here, he was not looking for members of the escort army, but the special forces. When the base was upgraded to level 4 before, he had produced 5 special forces teams. After that, he left it to Luo Shan to arrange. Now that zombies are attacking the city, there are no hostile forces to conduct exploration missions, so all 5 special forces teams are now staying in the inner city barracks. As soon as the car drove into the barracks, he saw 5 soldiers in special combat uniforms competing in marksmanship on the training ground. Each of them had exquisite marksmanship. Whether it was a moving target or a fixed target, they could hit the bullseye accurately. At the edge of the shooting range, a group of people stood watching. This group of people also wore special combat uniforms and were members of the special team. Luo Ren opened the door and got out of the car. His eyes fell on those people, and he immediately coughed loudly. It was these sounds that attracted the attention of the group of people. Although they had never met him, Luo Ren's appearance was deeply reflected in the minds of everyone produced by the system. They came running quickly, and those who were competing in the marksmanship competition also finished their competition and quickly came over to gather. These people arranged themselves into 5 teams. Each team consisted of 6 people, and the 5 teams totaled 30 people. Quickly lining up. 30 people saluted at the same time and shouted, "Hello, sir." Luo Ren pressed his palm down, looked at everyone, and couldn't help but nodded secretly. It was indeed a special force, and everyone was in excellent spirits. After pondering for a moment, he said, from left to right, "Please introduce yourself, Ta." Dap. The person standing on the far left of the team on the far left, took a step forward, stood at attention, and said loudly, "Sir, I'm the captain of Chiang Special Operations Team 1. Team 1 of Chiang." Immediately after, another person came out and loudly said, reporting to the commander, "I'm the investigation of Chiang Special Warfare Team 1, Kai Yicha. Sir, I'm the sniper of Chiang Special Operations Team 1, Kai Sniper. Sir, I'm the medical and psychologist of Chiang Special Forces Team 1, Kai Yixin." They pushed back one by one until the last member of the 5th team, Kai Wuxin, completed the introduction, and then all the introductions were completed. "This name is really easy." Luo Ren rubbed his chin and complained secretly in his heart. At the same time, he did not intend to rename these people. After all, the current names are much more normal than the pure numbers of the guards, so there is no need to name them again. I rack my brain to think of so many names. His eyes swept over everyone again, and then said, "I came here to find you today, because I have a task that you need to complete. Rumors are spreading in the city right now. I want you to find these people who are spreading rumors and causing trouble and arrest them. You don't need to detain and deal with them. After you catch them, you only need to hand them over to the public security station." After a moment of pause, his tone suddenly became serious, and then he said, "I know that for you, this kind of task is like killing a chicken with a knife, but I hope that you will still complete the task seriously and don't mess around. Do you understand?" "Understood." 30 people responded at the same time. Luo Ren said, "It's just a small thing now, but there will be big things in the future, and at that time you will be a sharp sword to me, a sharp sword that silently penetrates into the heart of the enemy. From now on, I will provide you with life energy liquid to make your physical fitness stronger, so that you can complete various tasks better." Everyone felt awe-inspiring, and their already upright posture became even more upright at this moment. They looked directly at Luo Ren, opened their mouths wide, and shouted out the energy in their hearts. "I'm a sharp sword that pierces the enemy's heart silently." A relieved smile appeared on Luo Ren's face, and he glanced at the sky. The sun was already halfway down the mountain, and it wouldn't be long before it gets dark. He looked over the people in front of him again and said, "Okay, you go." Yes. After watching 30 people leave, he walked back to the car and drove the car out of the barracks. Suddenly, an electronic sound of diddy sounded. The sound came from the communicator in the center of the car. The tank factory is upgraded to the intermediate level and can produce wireless communication armored vehicles. At the same time, the level 4 arsenal can produce communication experts. A month ago, he produced several wireless communication armored vehicles and several communication experts. During the month he left, the communication experts use the communication armored vehicles to establish Chiang City's internal communication system. At this moment, there is no need to manually convey information or commands. Long-distance communication can be achieved through the distributed communicator. Of course, this long distance is also limited. This is similar to the previous mobile communication. If there is a signal, you can speak freely. If the signal is poor, it is considered good. If 1/3 of a sentence can be conveyed accurately. If there is no signal, there is no way. The mobile phone you carry can only be used to listen to cached songs, read cached novels, or quietly enjoy educational films hidden in secret folders. As for the Chiang mobile communication system, Chiang City is naturally covered with communication signals in every corner. At the same time, radiating outward from Chiang City, the signal gradually weakens until 10 kilometers. If it exceeds 10 kilometers, then the signal is insufficient and communication is impossible. He took off the communicator, pressed the connect button, put it to his ear, and said, "I'm Luo Ren, brother Ren. I've told my father and team leader Su of the major military region that you agreed to send troops. They want to meet with you face to face now." The voice of Liu Liangxin came from the communicator. Her words were clear and fell into Luo Ren's ears accurately, which shows that the quality of this communicator is quite good. "Will we talk now?" Looking out the window and seeing the sunset in the sky, he thought to himself, "These people are too anxious. It's almost dark." Although he thought so, since the other party was anxious, he had nothing to do anyway, so he talked now. So he said, "Okay, you take them to the meeting room. Lines go there now." Chapter 319 Happy Cooperation. In the conference room, Luo Ren and Su Anmin sat face to face, and the rest of the people were divided into two sides. Except for Su Antang, who needed to command the city defense, and there was an additional Liu Liangxin, the rest were still the same people as in the morning. "Sir Luo, I heard that you agreed to borrow troops." Su Anmin had a faint smile on his face, and he asked knowingly. When he opened his mouth, Luo Ren said, "No, I agree to send troops, not borrow them." "Oh." Su Anmin said in surprise, "How do you say this?" Although there is only one word difference between sending troops and borrowing troops, I think you, team leader Late Su, should know the meaning. The former's command, management and other authority are still being shaken. To put it bluntly, those soldiers still listen to me. The latter gives soldiers directly to you and takes orders from you. Although he could see that the other party knew what he was asking, Luo Ren still patiently explained. Su Anmin asked again, "Why send troops instead of borrowing troops? Is it possible, Chief Luo, that you don't believe in my command ability? Or do you not believe in me in all aspects?" Deputy Commander Su is well known as a strategic genius in the military. Many senior leaders are no match for Deputy Commander Su in commanding operations. How dare you doubt it? Before Luo Ren could answer, Sun Cakesun suddenly stood up, put his hands on the table, leaned forward, widened his eyes, and scolded. Luo Ren, who was originally in a good mood, suddenly became angry at this moment. In the morning, Sun Cakesun had made rude remarks many times, and now it seems that he still doesn't know how to restrain himself. He looked at Sun Cakesun with a chill in his eyes and said coldly, "If you talk like this again, I won't mind letting you break a few more bones." As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes shot towards Sun Cakesun like sharp arrows condensed with coldness. Sun Cakesun was immediately frightened and subconsciously took a few steps back. But when he saw Suanmin and thought that Suanmin was a top level 3 evolver, he thought in his heart, as a member of the military, team leader Su will definitely not let it go. In this way, the fear in his heart faded a lot. When he saw Liu Liangxin again, he couldn't help but think of the insult he suffered in the H-City military division that day, and he couldn't help but feel angry. He took a few steps forward and was about to point at Luo Ren and curse when he heard a bang and felt an angry gaze at the same time. This sound attracted everyone's attention. Suanmin slapped his palm on the table and stared at Sun Cakesun with anger in his eyes. "Deputy Commander Sun, I hope you won't interrupt me when I'm discussing business with Commander Luo." The words were filled with anger, mixed with a trace of disgust that was difficult to detect. Sun Cakesun was stunned on the spot. He thought Suanmin would turn towards him, but who would have thought that Suanmin would actually reprimand him? He looked at his other companions, but saw that they looked indifferent, and no one was planning to stand on his side or speak for him. Suddenly, his mind was buzzing, and he didn't know what to say, or whether to sit down or continue to stand. At this time, Suanmin said again, "Deputy Commander Sun, if you don't want to participate in this meeting, just go back to your residence first." Hearing this, Sun Cakesun suddenly felt a sad feeling of being abandoned by the whole world and walked aimlessly outside the conference room. When he arrived at the door, he looked back and saw that everyone looked as usual and not one of his companions made a sound to stay. Turning his head, hatred and anger flashed through his eyes and he immediately strode away from the place. Suanmin clasped his fists and said, "I'm sorry, Sir Luo. It's my fault for being lax in my command. I'm sorry." Luo Ren waved his hand. Although Suanmin expressed his position like this, he still felt unhappy in his heart. He was not in the mood to argue. He said directly, "I'll just say it directly, we can only send troops, not borrow them. If we are willing, we can cooperate. If we don't want to do that, just do it yourself." Suanmin secretly scolded Sun Cakesun, while a smile returned to his face and said, "As long as the troops arrive, I accept the method of sending troops." Luo Ren nodded slightly and asked bluntly, "How many troops do you need from me, Su?" Suanmin stretched out his right hand, made a 7 gesture, and said, 7,000 is enough." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Luo Ren frowning, and immediately explained, "Liu command has more than 8,000 troops. I said before that 15,000 men can attack the city, so we need to borrow 7,000 more people." Luo Ren shook his head and decisively refused. The current city defense has already occupied a large number of troops. 7,000 is not enough, so. Suanmin's eyelids drooped slightly. He thought for a moment and asked, "Then how many troops can you send? This is not a bargain at the vegetable market. If you quote a number and the other party does not accept it, then add or subtract this number to get a new number, and so on. This obviously does not apply to the current situation." Luo Ren also stretched out his right hand, opened his palm, and exposed 5 fingers. Suanmin asked, 5,000? Luo Ren said, "Yes, it's 5,000, so." Suanmin calculated in his mind that compared to the 7,000 he hoped for, Luo Ren could only get 5,000, which was a full 2,000 less, or more than a quarter. His hand lying on the table could not help but imitate Luo Ren's index finger tapping on the table. After a long time, he said, "Is it only 5,000? Can't it be more?" Luo Ren said seriously, "Now it is different from the past. The city defense requires a huge number of troops. I can only mobilize 5,000 troops. Only 5,000 troops can be mobilized." Suanmin repeated this sentence. He knew what Luo Ren meant, that is, no matter whether he accepted it or not, he could only mobilize 5,000 troops. 13,000 troops. Chiang City to the north. Enter the city. The corpse palace. He slowly closed his eyes, planning and deducing in his heart. After a long time, his eyes slowly opened, staring at Luo Ren, and said, 5,000 is 5,000. After a pause, he continued, I wonder when Commander Luo can mobilize troops. Luo Ren said, after today, the day after tomorrow. Okay. Su Anmin nodded heavily. That. Suddenly, Liu Yangnian, who had been silent all the time, spoke. Luo Ren cast a glance and said, Commander Liu, just say whatever you want. Liu Yangnian then said, actually, it's nothing big, but my previous weapons and ammunition are all placed in the custody of the guards. You see. Luo Ren understood the meaning of his words and said, don't worry about this matter. In order to facilitate this operation, the weapons and ammunition are all provided by Chiang City. After the operation is over, I will return all your weapons and preparations. That's fine, I have no problem. Liu Yangnian accepted it happily. Luo Ren's move was obviously to let them take advantage. Why not do such a good thing? And Luo Ren was right. Unified weapons and equipment are more convenient. At the same time, he felt very bitter. How many of these 8,000 people could come back alive? Would those weapons and equipment still be useful? Bitterness aside, he had already understood the importance of this operation through Su Anmin. He would not refuse, and could not refuse this operation anyway. Su Anmin stood up, stretched out his right hand, and said, happy cooperation. Luo Ren also stood up, shook hands with Su Anmin, and said, happy cooperation. Chapter 320 Quality Enhancement. Although Sun Cakesun was ungrateful and upset at this meeting, the final result was relatively smooth, and Luo Ren and Su Anmin established cooperation. Luo Ren sent 5,000 troops to cooperate with Liu Yangnian's 8,000 troops to attack the main urban area of H City. At this time, the bright moon is hidden in the clouds, and so are the stars. It can be said that the night is dark and windy. Luo Ren drove the vehicle through the streets and alleys, came to the military zone again, and stopped in front of the research institute. Visiting twice a day is not considered frequent. Entering the research institute, Yanling immediately stepped forward to greet him and said, Sir. Luo Ren nodded slightly, without any nonsense, and said straight to the point, the saber produced by the arsenal is good at killing ordinary zombies, but it is not satisfactory for dealing with evolved zombies. Even the lowest level 1 power zombies, a few more will be enough. Have to collapse. I came here to ask you, is there any weapon with better toughness and hardness than a saber? He can be considered the first person to come to the institute to look for weapons, but there is nothing he can do about it. The sabers in the arsenal are disposable. If you find a blacksmith in the city to make swords, no matter how good the craftsmanship is, there will be no quality. Metal is also nonsense. Therefore, he could only come to the research institute to try his luck. If so, his combat power could be improved. After a month of practicing sword skills in Xianwu Mountain, if he could get a sword with extremely strong toughness and hardness, it would really be even more powerful. And if not, that's okay, there is no hand knife. Yanling was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said, the Sword and Other Weapons Research Institute has no output. Luo Ren was disappointed when he heard this, but Yanling continued, however, there is something that can make cold weapons sharper and tougher. After that, he turned around and walked into the storage room, rummaging around for a while. When he came out, he was holding a rectangular black box about 1.7 meters long in his hand. Luo Ren's eyes fell on the black box and asked, what is this? Yanling put the box on the ground and introduced, this is a miniature mass enhancer. Then, he found the orange round touch button in the box, touched it lightly with his fingertips, and suddenly click, 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 just like the sound effect of the Autobots transforming in the beautiful Chinese blockbuster Transformers, and the black box also began to unfold. Within a minute, the black box changed its appearance and became much larger, with a height of 1.5 meters and a width of 1.7 meters. It changed its dark style and had sharp edges and corners. Under the light, it shone with a silvery white light. Suddenly, Yanling's palm was suspended 3 centimeters above the instrument. Under his palm, the top surface of the instrument began to change, unfolding like an anomachine, showing a groove that fit his palm perfectly. He immediately explained, put in the object that needs to increase the quality, then select the increase multiple, and then add the material with the corresponding multiple of the mass. At this time, the increase will begin. After a period of time, the quality increase will be completed. He moved his palm away, and the groove immediately recovered, and the top surface of the instrument returned to flatness. Then he casually picked up 2 tweezers from the table, handed the tweezers to Luo Ren, and said, "Sir, please feel the weight of these 2 tweezers first." Luo Ren took the tweezers, weighed them, and then handed them back to Yanling. After Yanling took the tweezers, he placed one on the top of the mass increaser, and immediately opened the groove, and the tweezers fell into it, and then was wrapped up again. "The object has been placed. Please state the enhancement factor orally." Yanling said, "Enhance the quality by 1x. Received. Please put in the same amount of substance." When Yanling heard this, he immediately put the other tweezers in his hand into the top of the instrument. In the same way, the tweezers sank in and were wrapped. Sufficient material reception. Quality enhancement begins. About 30 seconds later, the mass intensifier suddenly vibrated, and then its top surface was seen unfolding, revealing the tweezers that had just been put in. 2 tweezers had just been put in, but now there was only 1. Quality improvement completed. Please take away the object. Yanling picked up the tweezers, weighed them twice, slightly, and then handed them to Luo Ren. Luo Ren took the tweezers, was stunned for a moment, and said, "This pair of tweezers is as heavy as 2 tweezers." Yanling said, "Because the material of the other tweezers is integrated into this tweezers. According to common sense, the density increases, the mass remains unchanged, and the volume becomes larger. The mass enhancer uses technological means to increase its density, keep its volume unchanged, and make its quality stronger. So now the mass of this tweezers is twice that of ordinary tweezers, and its strength, toughness, weight, etc. are naturally twice that of ordinary tweezers." Luo Ren was overjoyed after hearing this and said, "So, if I put in 2 sabers, can I get a saber with twice the strength?" Yanling nodded and said, "Yes, that's true. This is much better than practicing hard." Luo Ren was pleasantly surprised. He looked around at the instrument, and when he saw the orange touch button, he immediately tapped it with his fingertips. Kakaka. A mechanical sound suddenly sounded, and half a minute later, the miniature mass enhancer with a sci-fi feel had turned into a rectangular black box. It could be described as simple and unpretentious. Seriously, a person should not be judged by appearance, and the box should not be underestimated. I left the institute with the mass intensifier in my arms, put it in the back seat of the car, then walked around to the driver's seat and got in. Suddenly I saw a steel knife placed on the platform, silver and black, with beautiful forgings on the blade. The pattern was taken from the hands of Kao Lun, the elder of Wuang village. This knife must have been forged using an exclusive method, and is much stronger than a saber. It can cut through zombies with a level 2 strength without breaking. And its style and length are suitable. Luo Ren immediately decided to increase the density of this knife. After all, the saber is too short, and no longer suitable for his fighting style. Because this knife looks like a Damascus knife, it has always been called a horse leather steel knife. Now, from its pattern and color, Luo Ren couldn't help but have an idea and thought to himself, silver black, forging pattern, silver pattern and silver kiss. Why not call it silver kiss? Pick up the precious sword, flick the blade with your index finger, and make a crisp metal sound. He praised with satisfaction. Silver Kiss, what a good name. I'm really a genius. Driving back to the mobile base quickly, carrying the macro mass enhancer in one hand, and holding the long knife Silver Kiss in the other, he strode into the mobile base. At that time, the lights in the house were bright, and Suan Tong's soft hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Seeing Luo Ren coming back, she came forward to greet him. Seeing him carrying a handbag on his shoulder, she couldn't help but ask curiously, "What is this?" She pointed at the black rectangular box on Luo Ren's shoulder, and ignored the long knife Silver Kiss. After all, there was nothing surprising about the knife. Luo Ren put the mass enhancer on the ground, smiled mysteriously at her, and said, "I'll show you a magic trick." After that, he tapped his finger on the orange touch button, and the mass enhancer immediately unfolded mechanically, which made Suan Tong exclaim, walk around, and look at this item she had never seen before. Luo Ren said, this is a macro mass enhancer that can enhance the mass of an object. Suan Tong widened her eyes and said in surprise, is it so magical? Luo Ren did not explain too much, handed the silver kiss to Suan Tong, let her feel the initial weight, and then put the silver kiss into the top surface of the mass enhancer, which automatically sank in, and then heard, the object has been put in. Please orally tell the increase multiple. Luo Ren said, increase the mass by 1 times. Received. Please put in the same amount of material. He climbed up to the 2nd floor, and a few minutes later came down with several guns and several sabers, and put these guns and sabers into the material enhancer one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sufficient. Material received. Mass enhancement begins. After waiting for about 3 minutes, the machine vibrated, and the top surface unfolded, revealing the silver kiss long knife, and issued a prompt at the same time. Mass enhancement is completed. Please take the object away. Luo Ren nodded at Suan Tong, indicating that she should pick up the long knife. Suan Tong was not afraid, and immediately reached out, and picked up the silver kiss long knife. The moment she picked it up, she was stunned. Her eyes were full of surprise, and she opened her mouth and said, it's really much heavier. That's natural. Taking the silver kiss, his fingers ran across the blade. Although the skin was not broken, it could be felt that it was sharper than an ordinary saber. The index finger flicked the blade, and the metal sound was crisp and a little thicker than before. He muttered to himself, if you want to become my weapon, just double the mass is not enough. Chapter 321 Attack, Part 1. The next day, the sky was clear outside Bicheng, which had just experienced a zombie siege. Everything you looked at was devastated. As for what scorched earth is, a few miles outside Chiang City at this time, is scorched earth. Luo Ren withdrew his gaze, looked left and right, and saw that, although the battle was over, both the guards and the Xianxing army were all in high morale, and in good spirits. He thought about the battle just now. Although the soldiers of the Xian march were not as fast as the escorts, they were not slow either. There was no problem in garrisoning the city. Suddenly there were footsteps behind him. Looking back, it was Suan Tong. She came up and said, Brother Ren, your decision is indeed right. After the replacement, although the city's defense strength is affected, it is very small. Moreover, these people have experienced several more attacks. I want to be more proficient in urban warfare, and my military quality can quickly catch up with the escort. Luo Ren nodded slightly, pondered for a moment, and asked, how is the exchange of troops from the other 3 parties going? Suan Tong said, all the exchanges have been completed. The 5,000 guard troops are now free, and can be mobilized at any time. Luo Ren asked again, how is the expansion of Xianxing army's recruitment handled? Su and Ang said, I have asked Saudi Arabia to design posters and put them up in the streets and alleys, and at the same time artificially publicize and build momentum. I plan to start recruiting and screening after 3 days of warm-up. After hearing this, Luo Ren couldn't help but smile on his face. He turned around to face Suan Tong, suddenly hugged him and said softly, and Tong, you can help me solve a lot of things with my good wife. Suan Tong leaned in Luo Ren's arms, her heart full of happiness. The soldiers around them turned their heads when they saw how disgusted the 2 men were. The guards were fine, but Xian Xingjun had a stomach full of dog food. After a long time, Luo Ren let go of Suan Tong and looked outside the city. He saw the burnt and unburned corpses on the ground and said, among the corpses outside the city, there are many evolved zombies, although most of them are not high level. But they all have evolutionary crystals. And Tong, you can ask Luotian, Luo He and other level 2 or above evolvers to take advantage of the break, to go out of the city, to pick up evolution crystals. So many evolution crystals are enough to increase our army's combat power by a level. Suan Tong nodded and said, I have wanted to do this for a long time. However, I did not have enough evolutionary level before, and was afraid of sneak attacks by high-level zombies, so I did not go out to pick up evolution crystals. Now that I'm a level 3 evolver like you, Brother Tongren, I'm not afraid of sneak attacks anymore. A level 3 evolver. Luo Ren smiled softly, then nodded and said, then it's all your fault. After a pause, he suddenly remembered something. slapped his forehead and said, "How could I forget it?" Suan Tong asked curiously, "What did you forget?" Luo Ren took Suan Tong's hand and walked towards the city, saying, "Come with me, I will introduce you to a new friend. It is a very powerful fighter after your brother, and I leave the city, the defense of Chiang City will fall on you again. Although you are already a level 3 evolver, you will inevitably lack energy to defend the city in all directions. The guy I introduced to you has good individual strength. You can let it garrison a city defense, so you can relax a lot." Suan Tong was curious and didn't know who the she or he in Luo Ren's words was. After getting in the car, she couldn't help but asked, "Brother Ren, who is that him?" Luo Ren smiled mysteriously, let it go, and said, "It is what it is, you will know later." Driving from Bicheng to Zicheng, we arrived in less than 10 minutes. After getting off the car, Luo Ren looked towards the city wall and happened to see a dozen people gathered together, not knowing what they were doing. The news of their arrival immediately alarmed everyone. Upon seeing this, the dozen or so people gathered together rushed back to their posts, leaving only the golden red long-haired man lying on his side with his elbows on the ground and his chin in his palms. Biology. When the creature saw everyone leaving, it stood up. When it saw Luo Ren, it was very surprised. It jumped off the city wall with a swish and jumped in front of Luo Ren and Suan Tong. It respectfully said to Luo Ren, "Master." To Luo Ren's surprise, Suan Tong was not surprised at how Yuan spoke. She looked at Luo Ren and asked, "Brother Ren, the him you are talking about," pointed at Hao Yuan and said, "Isn't that right?" Luo Ren was surprised at first, but then he was quickly relieved. Suan Tong was responsible for changing the troops in all directions, and the monkey fate was so obvious. When the Zicheng defense was changed, Suan Tong must have seen the monkey fate and heard it speak. Thinking about it this way, if she acted surprised at this time, it would not be justified. Luo Ren nodded and said, "That's right, it's called Monkey Yuan, and it evolved from the golden monkey in Qianwu Mountain. Because I saved its comrades, it recognized me as its master and followed me all the way here. Don't underestimate it. It is a quasi level 3 evolved animal with very strong combat power." After hearing this, Suan Tong looked at Monkey Yuan and said alone, "It turns out to be a golden monkey. I thought it was a western hairy man." Luo Ren heard Suan Tong's whispered words, smiled, and then said to Hao Yuan, "From now on, when you see her, you see me. Her words are my words. Do you remember?" "Remember." Hao Yuan responded, scratching his ears and cheeks, imitating humans' clasped fists and cupped hands. His posture was a bit funny, and said to Suan Tong, "Mistress." The 3 words fell in Suan Tong's ears, making her feel extremely comfortable. She glanced at Luo Ren secretly, with a bright smile on her face. The sun and the moon change, birds sing crisply, and smoke rises from all over Chiang City. Although there are zombies attacking the city at any time, and the noise is great every time, as the old saying goes, people are made of iron and rice is made of steel. If you don't eat for a meal, you will be hungry. Therefore, breakfast is still necessary, and you should eat as much as possible, so that you can endure a morning of work. While the residents are making fire and cooking, the army gathers in the open space near the city gate in the West City, with the same combat uniforms, the same guns, the same infantry armored vehicles, and the same tanks. However, Luo Ren, Suan Min and others standing in front of the army know that the more than 13,000 troops are different, with more than 8,000 Zaya soldiers and 5,000 guards. Suan Min looked at the team in front and said at the same time, "Commander Luo, it may not be appropriate for 2 people to lead an army. In my opinion, we should put 1 person in charge of the basic command, and we can discuss the implementation of tactics before giving orders." "This is right." Luo Ren did not refute. After a moment of silence, he said, "Then the basic command is handed over to you. The so-called basic command is to order, act, prohibit, and stop. Since Suan Min and others are here to complete the task, they must have had a plan before, so it is better to give him this authority." Suan Min did not refuse or be polite, and immediately accepted it. With his order, all the soldiers boarded the armored vehicles and tanks. At the same time, Luo Ren also ordered the city gate to be opened. The tall and solid city gate slowly rose, and the tracks of the tanks guarding the team rolled, crushing the gravel on the ground, and driving out of Chiang City. Chapter 322 Attack, Part 2. As usual, Luo Ren jumped onto a tank in front of him. He was dressed in the same combat uniform as the soldiers, except that he did not wear a helmet. He carried a long knife on his back, and the blade was wrapped in a leather scabbard. From the front, he looked somewhat like a swordsman and a prodigal son. Aha! The wind broke behind me, and then I heard the sound of metal falling on the roof of the car, and then I heard someone speaking. Chief Luo is so charming, and this long knife is also extraordinary. Listening to the voice, Luo Ren recognized that the person coming was none other than Suan Min. He was his uncle after all, so he couldn't slack off. Turning back, he looked at Suan Min and said humbly, "Team leader Su is so complimentary." Suan Min waved his hand, took 2 steps forward to make the space between the two of them more reasonable, and then he said, "I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. Not a compliment point, you are only in your early 20s, but you are able to build a huge Chiang city with a population of 500,000 and 17,000 soldiers, all of whom are well equipped and have excellent military quality." Dang dang. He raised his foot and stamped a few times, and the tank made a clanging sound under his feet. The soldiers inside the tank must be wondering, is it hailing on a hot day? He continued, "Your tank is not inferior to our army's main battle tanks in terms of production technology and materials. There are also rifles, machine guns, individual artillery, etc. In the past, it was more difficult for ordinary countries to manufacture them. Only countries that have basically completed industrialization have the strength to manufacture. By the way, your Storm helicopter gunship is even better than the Z-10 in some aspects. I really don't understand it. Can you tell me where you got these weapons and equipment?" The two looked at each other, and Luo Ren suddenly smiled and said, "If I said that aliens funded these things for me, would you believe it, Su?" And Min was silent for a while and said seriously, "I believe it, Luo." Ren was surprised. Seeing Suan Min's serious expression and tone, it didn't look like he was joking or lying, but rather like he really believed it. However, he didn't pay much attention to it. In fact, he didn't care whether he believed it or not. All he had to do was to continuously absorb the population and develop Chiang City. Thinking of the population, he couldn't help but think of what Liu Yangnian said that day, that the military's provincial capital base had a population of 3 million. Such a huge population is really very tempting to him. If the provincial capital stronghold can be converted into a city-state, then the number of people in the base will directly reach more than 3.7 million, which is short of the 5 million population mark, which can be said to be progress. A big step forward. However, the occupier of the provincial capital stronghold is not a local force, but the military, which makes it difficult to handle. While he was thinking, Suan Min beside him suddenly said, "Sir Luo, it seems that trouble will come sooner than I thought." After that, he jumped up and left the tank, and then heard him give the order, "The team stops advancing. All kinds of weapons and equipment are set up, and they are ready to fight." Luo Ren also came back to his senses and scanned his eyes 360 degrees. He saw a large number of zombies rushing towards him from the front, left and right sides. Among them, he could see tall powerful zombies and zombies that were rushing through the zombies. Speed zombies. The mobilization ability of professional soldiers is very fast, which is definitely not comparable to that of the no-name army. From the moment Suan Min gave the order, in less than a minute, various firearms and individual artillery were set up, waiting for the zombies to enter shooting range. Zombies are no better than living humans. In previous human wars, thousands or even tens of thousands of bullets were needed to kill an enemy. That was because humans knew how to find bunkers and dodge. However, zombies are different. Ordinary zombies and level 1 zombies will only run rampant and do not have the same level of weapons. Only level 2 zombies and above can dodge, move, etc., and make moves that are beneficial to themselves. Therefore, although the number of zombies surrounding them is large, it is not a big deal for these more than 10,000 well-equipped soldiers with sufficient bullets. When the group of zombies come within shooting distance, the battle begins immediately. Under the hail of bullets, the zombies in the front row fall down, the zombies in the back row follow up, the zombies in the back row fall down, and the back row follows up, and so on. Su Anmin shuttled among the entire army, and at the same time ordered, everyone, try to save bullets, and don't hold the trigger all the time. In this operation, we have to pass through a crowd of millions of corpses, and enter the main city. However, there are no transport lanes airdropping behind us, no supply convoys, and generally no ammunition replenishment. So don't empty all the bullets in your hands in the first battle. You must aim carefully before shooting, and strive to kill with one hit. Of course, the zombies have passed a safe distance, so you can go ahead and fight. After all, we can't just save ammunition, and we will suffer a lot of casualties in this first battle. Su Anmin's words were effective. The soldiers' shooting frequency dropped a lot, but their accuracy improved a lot. Of course, if the zombies exceeded a safe distance, they would still not hesitate to use the empty magazine method. At the same time, evolvers like Luo Ren are not idle, and are always vigilant. If there are zombies above level 2 breaking through the hail of bullets, they will take action without hesitation. The first battle lasted for more than half an hour. In the end, with the roar of evolved zombies, a large number of zombies retreated, leaving behind those zombies' corpses that could no longer retreat. Looking at them, it was roughly estimated that there were thousands of them, including there are also evolved zombies. Although there is not a level 2 evolutionary zombie, it cannot be wasted. After all, there are so many ordinary soldiers. After taking these level 1 evolutionary crystals for them, they can also improve their overall strength point. After picking up the evolution crystal, the team moved forward again. Su Anmin came to Luo Ren to discuss the distribution of evolution crystals, thus showing his importance to Luo Ren. Luo Ren only said, however, you distribute it reasonably, you distribute it in the same way, since Luo Ren said so. Su Anmin distributed the evolution crystals according to his own wishes. After some thought, he decided to distribute the evolution crystals to the soldiers in the most dangerous position first. Time passed quietly. When they left the city in the morning, it was already noon. In this morning alone, Luo Ren and his team encountered 7 zombie attacks, and all of them were zombies at the level of tens of thousands. 10,000 is just a level. It does not mean that there are only 10,000 zombies, but tens of thousands, maybe more than 10,000, or 70,000 or 80,000, or 80,000 or 90,000. And the tens of thousands of zombies encountered along the way were all at the level of more than 50,000. As a result, more than half of the bullets they carried were consumed. Fortunately, while the bullets were consumed, the evolution crystals obtained gradually increased. At this time, almost all the soldiers in dangerous positions had taken more than 2 evolution crystals, and their overall strength was greatly improved. In addition, the journey was more than halfway through, and the distance to the main urban area was not far away. After entering the main urban area, the danger really reached its peak point. Although a large number of zombies poured into the suburbs, there were still many zombies in the main urban area. In addition, the main urban area was densely built, mainly streets and alleys, which were not as open as the suburbs and marginal urban areas. Zombie attacks could be discovered from a safe distance, so there was enough time to prepare for the battle. In this case, as long as there was enough ammunition and they were guarded by these evolvers, casualties would be extremely low. Just like now, after 7 zombie attacks, only a few dozen people were sacrificed, and they were all injured by the evolved zombies that broke through and died without treatment. If there were drugs or serums to resist the zombie virus, the number of sacrifices could even be reduced to single digits. The team continued to move forward. As they got closer to the main urban area, Su Anmin's expression became more serious. Luo Ren glanced at him, then looked forward. In his sight, as the car moved forward, a scene gradually became clear. A wide river, the algae green water is not turbulent, flowing calmly towards the east. Several ships are stranded on the riverside, covered with green vines, covering the rusty hulls across the river. The once magnificent Sujiang bridge is now covered with green vines like the ships on the shore, and the paint on the metal parts has fallen off, and rust has grown. The bridge is crowded with cars, some of which have crashed into each other, and some have stopped next to the car accident. These cars are also covered with dust at this time, and the bodies are covered with spots of rust. There are also skinny zombies on the bridge. Only half of the zombies are left, the white bones of the dead, and crows as big as roosters on the fence. The eyes follow the Sujiang bridge to the other side of the Sujiang. Unlike this side, the other side is full of high-rise buildings, a jungle of reinforced concrete. Stop. At Suan Min's command, the convoy immediately stopped moving forward. He looked ahead and said, after crossing the bridge, we will reach the main urban area. Chapter 323 Battle of Sujiang. Part 1. Main city area. Luo Ren stared at the high-rise buildings on the other side and narrowed his eyes slightly. At this moment, scattered zombies on the Sujiang bridge rushed over with their claws and claws. In addition to zombies with intact limbs, there were also zombies with only half of their body left. They clasped their hands on the ground. Huge, open your mouth and crawl towards this side. They were just ordinary zombies, not many in number, and could be easily dispatched without shooting. The small group of soldiers at the front stepped out, drew their bright sabers, and rushed straight towards the incoming zombies. Puff puff puff. The blade penetrated the flesh, and the dark red corpse blood spattered all over the floor. All the zombies were quickly eliminated. At the same time, Suan Min gave the order, all 5th companies come out. As soon as he finished speaking, more than 100 people stood up at the same time, and he ordered, quickly clear the obstacles on the bridge. Yes. More than 100 people said in unison, and then ran to the bridge in an orderly manner, and began to clean it up. The main obstacle is all kinds of vehicles. As for how to dispose of these vehicles, Suan Min said the word quick, so of course it should be done as quickly as possible, and throwing them directly into Sujiang is the fastest way. Boom. Remains of cars were constantly being thrown into the water, causing a lot of splashes, which alarmed the creatures in the Sujiang River. From time to time, a large fish with a length of 1 meter jumped out of the water. The scene was once very spectacular. Suan Min came to Luo Ren and said, at this speed, we will be able to cross the river in half an hour to an hour. Luo Ren nodded slightly, then glanced around, and finally settled on the other side, rubbing his chin, and said, Sujiang Bridge is one of the only 2 main roads into the main city. Shouldn't there be only dozens of zombies here? He looked at Suan Min and said, this is not common sense. Suan Min said, a large number of zombies are pouring into the suburbs. The zombies who want to come here should all go to the suburbs. Luo Ren pondered for a moment and said, maybe. As soon as he finished speaking, an eagle sound suddenly came from the sky. He looked up and saw an eagle circling. He thought to himself, is this guy here to pick up leaks again? It is said that this beast was chased by a swarm of bats and took refuge in Xiang City. It was a familiar road. After being exposed to the crisis, he immediately ran away without being grateful. Suan Min also saw the goshawk and couldn't help frowning and said, looking at it, this eagle should be at level 3. I wonder what it wants to do. Luo Ren smiled and said, Team Leader Su, don't worry, it won't attack humans. It will only pick up things. Oh. Suan Min looked away from the goshawk, then looked at Luo Ren in surprise, and asked, does Chief Luo know this eagle? Luo Ren nodded and said, we know each other. After pondering for a moment, he added, in fact, it also saved my life. Suan Min was even more surprised now, looking at the goshawk in the sky thoughtfully. At this moment, the goshawk roared again, suddenly flapped its wings and swooped down. It was extremely fast, breaking the sound barrier and reaching the speed of sound in 2 or 3 seconds. Suan Min was shocked and thought that the goshawk was attacking. Although Luo Ren said that the goshawk saved his life, animals are different from humans after all, so he had to be more cautious. Several people jumped into the center of the army and fixed their eyes on the goshawk. As long as it made any unfavorable move, he would take action directly. Luo Ren didn't know why the goshawk came down, and he frowned slightly. His eyes followed the goshawk, and he saw that the target of his dive was not them, but the surface of the Sujiang River. As he breathed, the goshawk flew down against the Sujiang Bridge. The sonic boom was so deafening that the soldiers on the bridge couldn't help but cover their ears with a look of pain on their faces. The goshawk approached the water, suddenly stretched out its talons, and grabbed it with great force. The originally calm river surface suddenly stirred up waves. With a crash sound, a big fish jumped out of the water. Under the sunlight, the scales of the big fish shone with golden light, and its 2 fish whiskers swung back in the wind. Like dragon whiskers, the big fish hit the goshawk coming from high in the sky with its hard head. The goshawk suddenly turned sideways and cleverly avoided the impact, and then grabbed the big fish from the side with its sharp claws. Clang, clang, the sharp claws touched the fish scales, as if they were grasping on steel, and sparks were rubbed out. However, in this contest, between spear and shield, the spear is stronger. After the spark, only puff is heard, and the sharp claws scratch the fish scales, and claw into the fish flesh. The goshawk carried the big fish, and flapped its wings to fly. Luo Ren was greatly surprised, and said to himself, is it just to catch a fish? However, the goshawk flapped its wings, and flew to a certain height, flying over the opposite bank. The fish it was carrying was as big as a car and was hovering. The big fish struggled, and at the same time, bright red blood continued to flow from the wounds on the fish's body, and then it dripped over the fish body, and fell to the ground. Luo Ren looked confused, wondering why the goshawk didn't leave after catching its prey. The goshawk released its talons, and the big fish fell directly from the high altitude, making a huge sound when it landed on the ground. The impact of the landing blew away the debris and dust on the surrounding ground. And a moment after the sound fell, Luo Ren's ears twitched, and suddenly he heard several sounds piercing the air, and saw several zombies jumping out from the tall buildings, and rushing towards the big fish. They lay on the big fish, greedily. Sucks bright red blood point, and these few speed zombies were not all. Then there was the sound of dense footsteps, the sound of broken glass, and the sound of objects falling to the ground. One moment, the main city on the other side was calm. The next moment, it was crowded with people, all rushing towards the big fish. Luo Ren swept his eyes, and found that among these zombies, the number of evolved zombies accounted for 2/6, and it was not just level 1 evolved zombies. There were 20 to 30 level 2 evolved zombies with scholar eyes. As for level 3 zombies, they were not seen yet. It should be that the attraction of the big fish was not enough to attract level 3 zombies. He now understood what the hawk meant. It was telling them that the front was very dangerous, and asked them not to go over. Swish. There was a sound of breaking wind beside him, and then he heard Suanmin say, H city is worthy of being the 3rd largest city in Jiangnan province. There are so many evolved zombies just on the edge of the main city. This is much more dangerous than Shanping City, where our army operated last time. As soon as these words fell, the zombies on the other side had already smelled the surging blood of more than 10,000 humans on the other side. They were very excited. How could big fish be as delicious as humans? These zombies gave up the big fish without hesitation, and rushed to the other side, wanting to have a good meal. Suanmin did not hesitate to immediately order the deployment of a defensive formation, and ordered the soldiers on the bridge to withdraw quickly. Speed zombies focus on speed, unlike ordinary zombies and strength zombies. Crossing the Sujiang Bridge, which is about 2 miles wide, is a matter of minutes for them. More than 100 soldiers were still running wildly, and the speed zombies behind them were about to catch up. At this time, several figures broke through the air. They were Sun Cakesuan and others who came with Suanmin. These people were not afraid of the speed zombies rushing on. They took up their positions and fought with the speed zombies the next moment. From the speed and strength they showed, Luo Ren judged that none of the 8 people was lower than the level 2, and Sun Cakesuan even reached the quasi level 3. From this, it can be seen that the large military region is indeed very powerful. Chapter 324 Battle of Sujiang, Part 2. 8 people from the military region blocked the incoming speed zombies, giving more than 100 soldiers enough time to return to the army and prepare for battle. Read dang, dang, dang. It was like a huge rock dropped from the 5th or 6th floor and hit the ground. The huge sound came from the other side, and everyone heard it clearly. In the eyes of the crowd, those huge zombies boarded the Sujiang Bridge, and there were also a large number of ordinary zombies at this time. The Sujiang Bridge was like a passage connecting the human world and hell. On one side were humans waiting in formation, and on the other side were zombies attacking the human world from hell. The war was about to break out. The 8 people from the military region saw that more than 100 soldiers had withdrawn to the army, and they did not stop. They suddenly broke out and quickly returned to the army. Then Suan-min gave an order. The black muzzle of the gun suddenly spit out dazzling flames, and the dense gunfire could rival the roar of the evolved zombies in this scenario. They dared not use weapons with large destructive areas such as individual artillery, because they still needed to pass the Sujiang Bridge to go to the main urban area. Therefore, the integrity of the Sujiang Bridge must be ensured. Many zombies fell in the hail of bullets, including level 1 zombies. Although they cannot use large-scale high-intensity lethal weapons, they can use heavy machine guns and anti-material sniper rifles. They just need to be careful. Although level 1 strength zombies can resist the shooting of ordinary rifles, they can't stand the heavy machine guns and anti-material sniper rifles. Their fat bodies were directly riddled with holes under the coverage of heavy machine gun bullets. Not only the bridge, many zombies chose to cross the water. Some of these zombies were dragged into the water by the creatures in the river and could no longer float up. Only less than 2/3 of them successfully swam ashore. Then they died under the dense hail of bullets. Ordinary zombies and level 1 zombies naturally cannot resist the rain of bullets, but level 2 zombies are different. Even heavy machine gun bullets can only leave white spots on their bodies, and anti-equipment sniper bullets can only scratch their skin. Only armor-piercing bullets can penetrate and kill them. But the current situation must be taken lightly. Armor-piercing shells cannot be used at will. Therefore, under Suan-min's arrangement, 8 evolvers from the military region are stationed in front to defend against level 2 zombies. At the same time, he ordered that tank shells be prepared. If it is confirmed that the bridge will not be damaged, the level 2 zombies can be fired. Crackling. Suddenly, the sound of broken glass came from the other side. Luo Ren immediately cast his eyes. He saw a creature covered with scales all over its body, with a long lizard tail behind its buttocks, 2 slender claw-shaped hands, and 2 feet in the shape of half claws and half feet. It can climb in front of 90 degrees. Lizard. Zombie. Luo Ren thought to himself, then reached out and said to the person next to him, "Give me a heavy sniper rifle." The soldier next to him immediately handed over an anti-equipment sniper rifle. The gun weighing more than 10 kilograms was as light as air in Luo Ren's hand. Without any feeling of heaviness or awkwardness, he raised the gun and aimed. A man should be treated with new eyes after 3 days of absence. After so long, Luo Ren has made great progress in his marksmanship. Although he does not have the marksmanship of Suan Tong, he can also be called a professional. The crushes locked onto the lizard zombie, and as it crawled on the wall, Luo Ren immediately pulled the trigger when he saw the opportunity. Bang! The muzzle spit out a tongue of fire, and the bullet cut through the air and shot at the lizard zombie. Through the magnifying glass, he saw the lizard zombie's eyes, which were a little black in the yellow, rolling around, and then raised a clenched claw. Clang! The bullet directly hit the lizard zombie's fist, and sparks flew everywhere, and the bullet exploded. But the scales on the lizard zombie's fist were not damaged at all. The eyes that were rolling around suddenly fixed, as if staring at the camera. Luo Ren's eyes were slightly fixed. The lizard zombie's defense was amazing. It should be a quasi level 3 or even a level 3 zombie. Suddenly, the lizard zombie kicked its limbs, broke away from the wall, and fell straight to the ground. It fell from a height of 5 or 6 floors. There was a huge bang sound, stirring up the dust on the ground. Swish. Before the dust had dispersed, a green shadow shot out from the dust, and the speed was very fast, exceeding the quasi level 3 zombie. Level 3 zombie. Suan-min raised his eyebrows and immediately jumped to the front row. His eyes were fixed on the lizard zombie. His iron fists were already clenched, and his muscles were already tense. The lizard zombie did not choose to cross the bridge, but cross the water. Unlike other zombies, it actually relied on its superb speed to walk on the water, just like the magical martial arts in martial arts TV series, light water floating. Suan-min snorted coldly and shouted, looking for death. As soon as the words fell, he shot out like a cannonball and hit the lizard zombie directly. Luo Ren frowned. Suan-min's sudden burst of speed had reached the level of a level 3 evolver, and not just an ordinary level 3 evolver. Bang! The 2 fists collided, one on the shore, and one on the water. The violent force spread out in a circle, and the dust and debris on the shore were swept away. On the water side, waves immediately appeared, splashing water several feet high. The lizard zombie scraped the water surface, and retreated more than 10 meters. Because there was no speed blessing, The density of the water was not enough to support its body. With a plop, it fell into the river. But Suan Min did not move at all. Obviously, he was better in strength. Seeing this scene, Luo Ren put down the sniper rifle in his hand. The lizard zombie was obviously not Suan Min's opponent. It seemed that he didn't need to take action. Crash, the water splashed, and the lizard zombie broke through the water. Without fear, it turned its claws and grabbed Suan Min point facing the attack. Suan Min easily dodged, and his speed was stronger than that of the lizard zombie. He dodged several moves, found an opportunity, and immediately used 100% of his strength to sweep out with his right leg, directly hitting the right rib of the lizard zombie point. He kicked the lizard zombie tens of meters away, and then rolled it against the ground for more than 10 meters. Covered in mud. This kick was enough to break a boulder weighing thousands of kilograms. But Suan Min's gaze settled down, and he saw the lizard zombie getting up quickly. It looked like it was not injured at all. Luo Ren also saw this scene and thought to himself, what an amazing defense. Staring at the lizard zombie closely, he frowned slightly when he saw the scales all over its body, thinking, it should be because of these scales. From this point of view, although Suan Min had the advantage in speed and strength, he could not hurt the lizard zombie at all, so there was no way to kill it. At this moment, Suan Min and the lizard zombie were fighting together again. The lizard zombie could not attack Suan Min, and could withstand a one-sided beating. However, its scales were extremely defensive, and Suan Min could not seriously injure it. Now he could only stalemate. Fortunately, the stalemate is beneficial to humans, because the zombies are no match for human weapons, and the level 2 zombies are also blocked by 8 people from the military area, and there is also Luo Ren who has not taken action, so overall, humans have the absolute upper hand. Raw level 3 zombies are intelligent, and so are the lizard zombies. It is aware of the current situation and suddenly roars loudly point, and the moment its roar ended, wow, the water splashed again on the river. This time the water was higher than the previous times, and there was a creature rising with the water. The creature's chest and abdomen were swollen. Not only did it have no neck, its head was almost retracted into its chest. Those 2 feet are half palm and half webbed, and the muscles in the calves and thighs are extremely developed. Another mutated zombie. Luo Ren locked his eyes on the creature rushing out of the water. Judging from its characteristics and shape, he secretly said, frog zombie. After the zombie rushed out of the water, it did not join the battle between Suan Min and the lizard zombies. Instead, it attacked directly towards the team. It jumped several feet high, and was 50 or 60 meters away. It only took a few moves to rush into the team. The 7 evolvers in the military area, except Sun Cakesun, were about to step forward to attack the frog zombies, but were stopped by Sun Cakesun. He said, you guys stay here, I'll deal with that beast. The other 7 people knew that Sun Cakesun was a quasi level 3 evolver, so they all nodded in agreement. Sun Cakesun immediately rushed towards the frog zombies without saying a word, and a fight broke out immediately. As soon as they fought, his expression suddenly changed. This frog zombie was definitely a level 3 zombie. He was no match for him. He glanced at Luo Ren and immediately burst out with all his speed, and ran towards Luo Ren. Luo Ren saw Sun Cakesun coming towards him, and of course he knew what he was thinking. The frog zombie also immediately exerted force on its hind legs, and jumped several feet high. Luo Ren stood tall and straight, glanced at Sun Cakesun, and immediately pulled out the silver kiss knife from behind him. Now the silver kiss had been completely transformed, and its quality had reached 12 times that of before. Holding a long knife in his hand, facing the frog zombies falling from the sky, he jumped up and faced them head on. He raised the long knife high above his head and then slashed down with all his strength. Clang! Exclamation mark. 12 times the mass does not mean it is 12 times sharper, but the strength has reached 12 times. This knife cannot be done by sharpness alone, but it also has Luo Ren's terrifying power and speed. The sparks only lasted for a moment, and the next moment he heard the squeaking sound of the blade entering the flesh, and the frog zombie's head was cut in 2. Red and white objects splashed from midair, and a body the size of a car fell down, hitting the ground heavily and motionless. Luo Ren somersaulted to the ground and looked around, seeing the surprised expressions of the 8 people in the military area, including Sun Cakesun. Chapter 325 Beheading. Without waiting for a rest, Luo Ren took the evolution crystal and immediately jumped up and went straight to the place where the lizard zombies and Suan Min were fighting. He held a silver kiss knife weighing more than 200 kilograms in one hand and slashed it in a circle. There was a whistling wind, a sonic boom, and the speed was extremely fast. The knife fell. The lizard zombie was unable to parry Suan Min. It was unable to dodge at this time and could only watch the silver and black long knife strike point. It blocks the chest with its right hand and raises its left hand high above its head. The right hand blocks Suan Min's fist and the left hand blocks Luo Ren's silver kiss knife point. The knife struck the lizard zombie's left forearm with a force that cut through the mountain. There was only a click sound. Although no blood or flesh was seen, the inner bones of the forearm were directly broken. The force of the knife continued unabated, hitting the lizard zombie's forearm and continuing to chop down until it hit the lizard zombie's left shoulder. Click, sparks flew everywhere, scales exploded, and the sound of bones exploding was heard. At the same time, the left side of the lizard zombie's body suddenly sank. Its left foot sank into the ground to the root of its thigh, and its right foot also sank into the ground to its ankle. Suan Min's fist hit at this time, but it didn't hit the right arm that was blocking the chest, but the forehead of the lizard zombie. The clang sound was like hitting a hanglu bell, with a crisp sound far away. This punch made the lizard zombie dizzy, with its head shaking back and forth. Before it regained consciousness, Luo Ren held the knife in both hands, raised it high above his head, and suddenly slashed it down, with the power to cut through Mount Ocean. Clang. The flying scale fragments, the dazzling impact sparks, the clicks sound, the skull shattered, and the dark red blood immediately flowed out. This beast's defense is really strong. Although I didn't use all my strength with my sword, I still used 50% of my strength. Compared with Suan Min's full blow, it was only a little weaker. It only opened a small opening in its skull, instead of one knife and two petals. Luo Ren was secretly surprised. The defense of the lizard zombie was obviously much higher than that of the level 3 power zombie. Fortunately, the conditions for the generation of mutated zombies are harsh, and their numbers are not as good as ordinary zombies with speed and strength, otherwise it would be quite a trouble. After one strike failed, Luo Ren raised his knife and struck again, still with 50% force. Under the watchful eyes of Suan Min and the 8 people from the military area, the silver-kissed long knife struck the lizard zombie's head again. Clang. Poof. The long knife accurately landed on the original wound. After a moment of metal impact, the long knife sank into the brain, and something red and white splashed out. The lizard zombie, which still had a glimmer of life, died instantly. Luo Ren withdrew his long knife and brought up a burst of red and white objects. Then he saw an evolutionary crystal through the cut edge of the knife. Without hesitation, he reached out and took out the evolutionary crystal. He quickly walked to the river and took it out of his pocket. Take out the evolutionary crystal obtained from the brain of the frog zombie, clean it with river water, and put it in your underwear pocket. These 2 level 3 evolution crystals are very valuable, allowing Chiang City to add 2 more level 3 evolvers, which are not comparable to the level 2 evolution crystals, although Suan Min also wanted 2 level 3 evolutionary crystals. Since both zombies were killed by Luo Ren, he had no reason to ask for them. The two returned to the army. Suan Min continued to direct the battle, while Luo Ren returned to his original position and scanned the surrounding areas, then leisurely wandered around with his back on the armored vehicle, leaving the battle command to Suan Min with peace of mind. Sun Cakesuan saw Luo Ren's eyes twinkling, thinking deeply in his heart. After the 2 level 3 zombies were killed, the zombies lost their backbone. When the level 2 zombies saw that the situation was not good, they immediately roared in retreat. Under the roar, both evolved zombies and ordinary zombies retreated one after another. Within a short while, the remaining zombies hid in the high-rise buildings. There were corpses all over the Sujiang Bridge, and there were also dense corpses floating on the surface of the Sujiang River. Maybe the creatures in the water were full, but at this time there were no fish, shrimps or other creatures to drag these floating corpses into the water in this battle. Only dozens of troops were lost, which was considered an absolute victory. Many soldiers could not stop cheering for victory. Suan Min stood at the front of the team, looking at the other side with a frown. The journey was going smoothly with little loss, but he knew that the real danger would come after crossing the bridge, when victory would not only be achieved with the loss of dozens of people. He turned around with a serious expression, glanced at the soldiers, saw the joy on their faces, and said loudly and earnestly, "If the place we are standing now is a human world, then the other side, after passing the Sujiang Bridge, is hell. I hope you will not be dazzled by this or previous victories, but always stay awake and vigilant." Upon hearing this, the smiles on the soldiers' faces immediately disappeared and were replaced by seriousness. When Suan Min saw the soldiers reacting like this, he felt a little more satisfied. It wasn't that he didn't know the joy of victory, but because he knew that the road ahead was dangerous and that only 200% caution could survive. The 5th company came out and cleared the obstacles on the bridge. Suan Min gave the order and then said to the other soldiers, "The others rest where they are for 30 minutes. He then walked to Luo Ren and said with a smile, "Thank you for taking action this time, Luo." Ren waved his hand and said, "We are on the same team right now, so naturally I can't just ignore it." At this moment, there were footsteps approaching from far away. The two turned around and saw Sun Cakesun walking over. Luo Ren thought to himself, "What is this guy doing here?" Sun Cakesun walked up to the two of them. He saluted Suan Min with a military salute and said, "Team leader, Su." And Min asked directly, "What can I do for you?" And like before, this time Sun Cakesun actually had a smile on his face in front of Luo Ren. He said, "The team leader is indeed the peak of level 3. He can almost defeat the green-scaled zombies. If the green-scaled zombies' defense power was not abnormal, he would have been killed long ago. He was killed by you, the team leader." After hearing this, Luo Ren frowned slightly and thought, "Did he come here specifically to flatter you?" Sun Cakesun suddenly looked over and continued, "Sir, Luo actually has such a precious knife. Ordinary knives are of no use when encountering level 3 zombies. He tried hard and cut the zombie's skin, but the knife broke. This sword of yours is really powerful. It killed 2 level 3 mutated zombies in a row and was still intact. It's amazing, sharp." Luo Ren didn't know what was wrong with Sun Cakesun today, but he didn't like him, so he didn't answer or ask questions, wasn't interested, and just faced him with an indifferent expression. Seeing this, Sun Cakesun twitched the corner of his mouth and continued, "Of course you killed the frog zombie, but I also had a share of the credit for attracting it. Of course you killed the green scale zombie, but it was also because of the exhaustion of team leader Su in the fierce battle that attracted him. He paid attention to it, so team leader Su also deserves a lot of credit. Point in short, the 2 level 3 zombies were killed by us together, so the benefits should be shared by us." Luo Ren understood this twist. This guy just had an idea about the 2 level 3 evolutionary crystals in his hand, and knowing that he was no match for him, he deliberately dragged Suan Min along. Hearing this, Suan Min felt that it was inappropriate for Sun Cakesun to come here to evolve the crystal, but he also wanted the level 3 evolutionary crystal, so he remained silent and quietly watched how Sun Cakesun could get it into Luo Ren's hands. Evolution crystal. Sun Cakesun glanced at Suan Min and saw that he was silent. He just thought it was Suan Min's acquiescence. He couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. He looked at Luo Ren with a little more confidence, because, judging from the speed and strength Luo Ren showed just now, from the looks of it, it is only at level 3, and is weaker than Suan Min. He was able to kill 2 zombies only with the long knife on his back. Since Suan Min acquiesced, there was nothing to be afraid of. After waiting for a while, Luo Ren still didn't speak. Sun Cakesun spoke again. "Both sides have their own merits. In my opinion, how about we each get one of the 2 evolutionary crystals?" Luo Ren glanced at Suan Min and cursed secretly. There is really no good thing in front of interests. He suddenly sneered, stared at Sun Cakesun, opened his mouth, and uttered one word, "Get out." Sun Cakesun was stunned for a moment, but he quickly recovered. He held back his anger and refrained from swearing. He looked at Suan Min again and saw that Suan Min was also a little surprised, but still didn't speak. Feeling his gaze, she just glanced at him and then looked away. Seeing that Suan Min was still acquiescing, he said again, "Sir Luo, this is your fault." I'm discussing this with you in a nice manner. How can you ask me to get out? Besides, if you think something I said is wrong, point it out, and I will correct it. Besides, what I said is correct. Killing 2 level 3 zombies is indeed the credit of both of us. If both parties cannot contribute, you will get all the benefits. Luo Ren turned away, smiled helplessly, and then asked, Team Leader Su and Deputy Commander Sun have said so. What do you think? Instead of entangled with Sun Cake-sun, Su Anmin pointed the finger directly at himself. Su Anmin immediately smiled awkwardly and said, well, Deputy Commander Sun's words make some sense. Haha. Luo Ren sneered, that makes some sense. In this case, from now on I will only care about myself and my 5,000 escorts. If you and your soldiers encounter level 3 zombies again, I will not take action. Or I will send you here, and I will take my people back to Chiang now. Su Anmin heard this and said anxiously, Sir Luo, don't be angry. I haven't finished what I said. Although it makes sense, the rules in our army are that whoever kills the zombies will own the evolutionary crystal. Both frog zombies and lizard zombies belong to them. Of course the evolution crystal you killed should be yours. Luo Ren smiled after hearing this, then looked at Sun Cake-sun and said, this is a rule in your army. Why do you want to break the rule? Sun Cake-sun clenched his fists with both hands, and his face turned red and blue. He thought Su Anmin would stand firmly on his side, but he didn't expect Luo Ren to express his attitude with just a few words. If he asked for the evolution crystal again at this time, he would eventually. The result can only be nothing. He gritted his teeth, waved his hand, and left the place. When Luo Ren saw Sun Cake-sun's back, his eyes suddenly became darker, and murderous intent flashed through his eyes. This guy's too jealous and hateful, so we can't keep him. We have to find a way to get him after entering the main city. Die. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.